Chapter 1798. It turned out that Su Fong had activated the primordial chaos, sacred mirror, and released the 9-yang true fire. 8. Reading Book 230. How domineering was the 9-yang true fire? Su Fong's 9-yang true fire already had the characteristics of a divine fire. It was above any flame in the great world and was not inferior to an ordinary divine fire. However, compared to the 9-yang true fire released by the divine mirror, it was not even 1/10,000th of its power. It could be seen how powerful the 9-yang true fire was. Moreover, the 9-yang true fire was a supreme yang true fire that could restrain all evil powers. Therefore, it was almost always successful when used to suppress the big goblin, demonic beasts, and resurrect experts. Nether? Marquis V used the power of the evil yang to create a tomb that could bury heaven and earth. It could even suppress experts of the divine world, but could not withstand the supreme divine power of the primordial chaos, sacred mirror. Although Su Fong could not activate the divine mirror to release the terrifying power of devouring and refining stars, he could use the power of the 9-yang to activate the 9-yang true fire. As the 9-yang true fire spewed out and burned, Nether, Marquis V's divine power was immediately incinerated layer by layer. First, it was the coffin that shackled Su Fong. Then the tomb condensed from death aura. Under the supreme divine power of the divine mirror, it shattered. The primordial chaos, sacred mirror was too heaven-defying, and the 9-yang true fire it released could restrain resurrected experts. Su Fong did not dare to use Nether to expose the divine mirror in front of Marquis V. As for Nether, Su Fong did not care about Marquis V, but Su Fong had no choice but to fear the supreme evil god. Su Fong did not know what kind of terrifying existence this evil god was. Just the power it released was enough to form 5 divine suns in the sky. Its strength was beyond Su Fong's imagination. Moreover, this evil god could borrow the power of the 5 evil suns to descend his will into the great world. If he discovered the divine mirror, Su Fong did not dare to imagine what kind of trouble it would bring. Therefore, Su Fong was very cautious this time. When he was in the divine mirror, he deliberately used the life-shrinking technique to conceal his and the divine mirror's aura. After escaping the tomb, he immediately put the divine mirror away. Marquis V also could not sense what was happening in the tomb. Yu, who was feeling proud or regretful about Su Fong. When Marquis V and the seductive resurrected woman saw Su Fong, they couldn't help but be shocked. Puff, his divine ability had been broken. Yu, Marquis V suffered a backlash from his power, and an evil power ran rampant in his body, causing him to involuntarily spit out a stream of death origin chi, causing his aura to wither. So what if you resurrect a deity? It will still be difficult to suppress my Su Fong. As soon as Su Fong's domineering voice sounded, a series of explosive sounds came from his body. His body grew rapidly, and golden electric currents flashed and flowed on his body. In the blink of an eye, Su Fong turned into a 1,000-foot-tall giant filled with a supreme holy aura. He was like a war god, and his terrifying aura shook away the dense death origin chi in the surroundings. Immediately afterward, Su Fongda took a step forward, covering a distance of 1,000 miles with a single step. Then, he blasted out a huge golden palm with a terrifying aura that could suppress heaven and earth. The seductive woman was like a fly, under the terrifying divine might released by Su Fong, who was in the gigantified diamond body state. She could not resist at all and was ruthlessly sent flying. Bam! 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 The gigantified Su Fong took a step forward in the air, and in a flash, he arrived at you. In front of Marquis V, his arms shook, and his Herculean divine palm burst forth. You, who had just been heavily injured, Marquis V unleashed his full strength. A black tombstone appeared in front of him, exuding a gloomy and evil aura, firmly blocking in front of him. Boom! Boom! Under the domineering divine power of the Herculean divine palm, which contained supreme pure yang divine might, the palm wind swept away the gloomy and evil aura of the tombstone. The first palm strike struck the tombstone, shattering it. Before the shock wave of the first palm strike dissipated, the second palm strike followed. Enveloping you? Marquis V? How dare an ant from the great world be so arrogant in front of me? The tombstone was you? Marquis V won a breather. After he roared angrily, the deathly aura in the world surged over. At this moment, it was as if all the evil power in the world had gathered in his body. Then, with a leap, he struck out a fist technique that could destroy the world. Boom! Under the gigantified diamond body state, Su Fong's huge fist, which was like a mountain, collided with you. Marquis V's fist collided. The two forces that surpassed the limits of a great world's human strength collided. This was a powerful and domineering collision. In an instant, it was as if heaven and earth had collapsed. The collision shook the sky, and a total of 6 divine suns lost their color. The sea of blood below was shaken until it soared into the sky. The blood dyed the world red. That incomparably huge head also emitted a series of cracking sounds from the collision. It was as if ice had exploded. The head was instantly covered in cracks, and some parts even collapsed. The resurrected experts who lived in the huge head were basically at the Tao realm. Those below the high-level Tao realm had been killed by the shockwave. The high-level Tao realm and the peak high-level Tao realm had also been injured by Su Fong's pure yang divine might. The collision of god-level experts was actually so terrifying. Su Fong's huge body was shaken and retreated thousands of miles away. He immediately returned to his normal state from his gigantified state. This time, using the gigantified diamond body had consumed more than half of his yang energy. Many parts of his body had been shattered. His chest had been damaged by Yu. Marquis V's terrifying, deathly aura seeped into his flesh and blood, corroding his vitality with sizzling sounds. At that moment, the dragon bird spat out flames that resembled a blazing sun and landed on the injured area. The dragon bird was born with the help of Su Fong's yang energy and blood energy. Not only did its power not cause any damage to Su Fong, but it also had an astonishing nourishing effect. Furthermore, its astonishing divine might quickly refine the maggot-like deathly aura. At the same time, Su Fong also activated the recovery abilities of his Black Lotus True Body and Dragon Subduing True Body. At the same time, he also activated the 9 Yang, 9 transformations. He quickly devoured a large number of pills and spiritual items in his body to recover his exhausted vitality and Yang energy. At the same time, the dragon bird was also absorbed into Su Fong's inner world. As though it was feeding him, it spewed out astonishing pure Yang flames, helping Su Fong rapidly recover his exhausted Yang energy. After stepping into the 6th transformation, although it was very difficult for a 7 transformation Yang Meridian to be born in a great world, his years of persistent cultivation of the 9 Yang 9 transformations were not useless. It caused the weight and quality of his 54 Yang Meridians to undergo a significant transformation. The Yang Meridians also became more vast, and the recovery speed of his Yang energy nearly doubled. In just a few seconds, Su Fong's Yang energy had recovered by 20 to 30%. Although he could no longer use the great giant diamond body, it was more than enough to maintain the circulation of his inner world's power. Damn it! That's a body of death prepared for the supreme heretic god's consciousness to descend into a great world. Marquis V fell into a frenzy. It turned out that this gigantic head was created by a resurrected expert of a great world who had killed countless cultivators, big goblin, and fiends. He had stripped off their blood energy and used an evil forbidden technique to create it. It was specially prepared for the heretic god's consciousness to descend into a great world. With the heretic god's consciousness residing in the head, it was equivalent to having a powerful avatar. It could easily sweep through a great world. Furthermore, it had an even greater use. When the avatar grew to a sufficient height, it could enter the celestial world from a great world and carry out a grand plan that would shock the celestial world. In the end, the gigantic head was actually between Su Fong and Nether. Marquis V had been severely damaged in the battle. Although it hadn't shattered, it would take a lot of effort, resources, and time to recover. Nether? Although Marquis V had been ordered to come to a great world, what kind of serious consequences would there be for ruining the supreme heretic god's plans? Nether? Marquis V didn't dare imagine it, so he vented all his fear and anger on Sufong. Nether? Marquis V controlled the death aura of heaven and earth and pounced at Sufong like a mad beast. Nether? Marquis V came from the myriad worlds. Although he was extremely powerful, he was shackled by the great world's heavenly Tao laws, making it difficult for him to use his full strength. At that moment, he borrowed the power of evil to move as fast as lightning, reaching the limits of a great world. With a flash, he traversed hundreds of thousands of kilometers. However, Sufong was even faster. Sufong activated the power of the world in his body, but outside the great world, he wasn't shackled by the great world's power at all. Sufong surpassed the limits of a great world and traveled through the void as he wished. Nether? Marquis V, the resurrected god of the myriad worlds, actually couldn't catch his shadow. Boom, boom, boom. Sufong launched a fierce attack at the gigantic head. The world in his body released a terrifying might that could split open heaven and earth. At the same time, Sufong also activated the power of the Yellow Spring Samsara and the Four-Season Samsara seal. The river of stars flowed, and the natural energies of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and thunder howled and wreaked havoc. The four seasons and space-time Samsara evolved and swept over the gigantic head. A large area of the head collapsed, and the lifelike facial features were changed beyond recognition. One of the eyes collapsed into a huge black hole, and the bridge of the nose was broken. There were huge holes everywhere on the face. It was a tragic sight. 9 true 9 sons. It was unknown how many resurrected experts were completely crushed into ashes under Sufong's crazy attacks. At least 1/3 of the top experts above the Tao realm were killed by Sufong. Sufong, if you have the guts, fight me head-on. Marquis V's angry roar rolled out. Nether? Marquis V, if you have the guts, suppress your strength to the level of a great world and fight me. Sufong responded with a mocking laugh, but he didn't hold back. His body was enveloped by the divine power of the world in his body, and he directly entered the mouth of the gigantic head and came out from the back. Nether? Marquis V's speed couldn't suppress Sufong, and the other resurrected experts couldn't help much. They could only watch as Sufong wantonly destroyed the gigantic head, which was riddled with holes and was about to shatter. Sufong, I'll definitely kill you. I'll definitely kill you. Nether? Marquis V's exasperated roar reverberated in all directions. Countless resurrected experts below the Tao realm, within a radius of 100,000 miles, were killed by his roar on the spot. Chapter 1799. Sufong shuttled out of the giant head with a magic treasure fragment in his hand. It was a fragment of the 10,000 manifestations Dharma. This fragment had been placed inside the head by the resurrected expert to create an array. With the 10,000 manifestations Dharma's ability to convert illusions and corporeal, it condensed the deathly aura and accelerated the formation of the head. I still need 2 more small fragments to gather the 10,000 manifestations Dharma. I don't know where these 2 small fragments are. I can only slowly search for them through the overlords of the ancient immortal demon battlefield. However, as long as Miao Mei can recover, it doesn't matter if I can't find these 2 small fragments. With the 10,000 manifestations Dharma fragment in hand, the resurrected expert has suffered heavy casualties. The goal of this trip has been achieved, and we have also destroyed the giant head that is extremely important to the resurrected expert. We can leave now. Unexpectedly encountering a resurrected deity, although it was somewhat different from what he had expected, he had achieved his goal. Sufong did not want to follow mystery anymore. Marquis V continued to pester him. This mystery? Marquis V was extremely powerful, and this place was clearly at a disadvantage for Sufong. Although Sufong had broken his Ubij 9 injured him, Sufong had used almost all of his strength. It was almost impossible to kill him, unless he joined forces with Shu Wanjin to activate the Origin's sacred mirror and kill him like how he killed the Blood River Lord. I'll find a chance to kill this resurrected deity in the future. Let's go. Su Fong activated the power of the world and was about to travel through the void. Su Fong, even if you escape to the myriad worlds, I swear to kill you. Mystery? Marquis V was far stronger than Su Fong, but it was impossible for him to keep Su Fong here, let alone kill him. He could only roar helplessly. Suddenly, the 5 blood-red suns in the sky suddenly dimmed a little. Immediately, an evil and incomparably powerful will engulf the deathly aura and the deathly aura between heaven and earth and fused into the giant head that was almost shattered. The giant head seemed to come alive in an instant. Although it was broken, it had a supreme will that was above the heavenly Tao. Even the heavenly Tao of a great world could not suppress it. The world seemed to be frozen, and Su Fong could not move at all. Su Fong couldn't help but be shocked. Luo let out a thunderous roar. It's the consciousness of that evil god. Let's go. Su Fong felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Without hesitation, he unleashed the power of his inner world. At the same time, he activated the Origin sacred mirror within his inner world. The divine might of the 9 yang true flame swept out, incinerating the surrounding shackles before disappearing into the void. Lord Evil God has descended upon the great world. You? Marquis V was overjoyed. However, in the next moment, he fell into despair. It was precisely because of his incompetence that the supreme heretic god had descended upon the great world of Tao consciousness. If the heretic god was enraged, how could he still exist? You? V. The giant head spoke with a voice that seemed to come from another world, ethereal and incomparably cold. Your subordinate is incompetent. Please punish me, Lord Evil God. You? Marquis V trembled as he knelt in the void. Do you know what kind of price this seat's consciousness has to pay to pass through the seal and pass through the world shackles between the great world and the divine world? Even the low-level existences of the great world can't be erased, and you almost destroyed this seat's clone. What's the use of having you? The head spoke with a majestic voice, causing you? Marquis V's entire body trembled nonstop. How could he still speak? Blood-red light flashed from the head's eyes, enveloping you? On Marquis V's body, you? Marquis V had no will to resist at all, let alone the ability to resist. Just as he was about to kill you, when Marquis V was about to kill him, the head suddenly revealed a surprised expression. Why is this aura so familiar? It also makes this seat feel a trace of fear. It turned out that Su Fong had activated the Origin sacred mirror and released the 9 yang true flame, leaving behind an aura in the void. Although this aura was very weak, it was still captured by the evil god's consciousness. You? The shackles on Marquis V's body disappeared, and then he was shocked. An aura that could make the supreme heretic god feel fear. What kind of terrifying power could have such an astonishing aura? Strange. Why is there an aura in the great world that makes my heart palpitate? The huge head frowned, revealing a surprised expression. After thinking for a while, the head said, "It's a pity that this seat's consciousness has been weakened to the extreme after passing through the seal and the world shackles. It's difficult to sense what this aura is. Strange, really strange. Forget it. This time, this seat will personally take action and wipe out the low-level existences of this great world. Although this seat has broken through the seal and regained freedom for 100,000 years, I have no choice but to take action. This seat wants to see what it is." Chi. Just as the evil god's majestic voice fell, a crack suddenly appeared between the eyebrows of the huge head. It was incomparably deep, and a strange dark red halo surged within it. In the end, it condensed into a sun. Like the 5 blood suns in the sky, it was dark red, as if it was condensed from dark blood. It flickered with an evil and strange blood halo. Chi, 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 chi. From the blood sea below, streaks of blood light flew out and fell into the blood sun between the eyebrows. As the blood halo flickered, each streak of blood light immediately condensed into a mysterious blood pattern. Within the blood pattern, there was a vague shadow. There was a human figure, a big goblin, a devil, and all kinds of strange existences. The shadow was frantically struggling and roaring, emitting an astonishingly fierce aura. The blood sea below was formed from the blood of countless humans, demons, and other strange races of the great world that had been killed by the resurrected experts. It contained the evil thoughts left behind by these creatures before they died. At this time, the evil god's consciousness forcibly separated them from the blood sea and condensed them into blood patterns. In an instant, in the deep crack between the eyebrows of the huge head, layers of blood patterns surged. Countless shadows swayed, and waves of evil aura burned wildly. 10,000 resentment burning soul, go! In the crack between the eyebrows of the huge head, dense blood patterns suddenly burst out. There were so many of them that it was difficult to count. Countless blood patterns overlapped and finally condensed into a palm-sized rune. Then, it spontaneously combusted, turned into a bloody light, and disappeared between heaven and earth. Nether? Marquis V revealed a sinister smile. Su Fong, Lord Evil God, personally cast the 10,000 resentment-burning soul blood curse. Although it was cast with the help of the evil thoughts of the low-level creatures of the great world before they died, how can you resist it? You caused this seat to be punished by Lord Evil God. You really deserve to die. The voice of the evil god came from the huge head. Nether? V, bring this person to this seat. At this time, Su Fong had already traveled through the void, left the resurrected expert's territory, and appeared in the ruins of an abyss. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The life-shrinking technique and the heavenly expansion mystic unravel, Tao runes, and true runes exploded at the same time, warning Su Fong that a life-and-death crisis was about to descend. The commotion was so great that it had never happened before. The yin-yang vortex formed by the heavenly expansion, mystic unravel, and true runes was almost enveloped by a layer of bloody light. Damn it, the evil god's consciousness actually personally attacked me. Su Fong trembled with fear, and a chill seeped out of his body, as if he was in a world of ice and snow. In the immortal region's great war, the evil god's consciousness had also descended to save Mingon. At that time, he did not display much strength. He did not expect the evil god to personally attack this time. How could Su Fong not be shocked? Chi! A bloody light appeared out of thin air. A wave of evil aura surged over, causing Su Fong's consciousness to instantly enter a berserk state. At the same time, the true chi and energy in his body went out of control. Even his yang chi was the same, exploding and burning uncontrollably. Luo Bao shouted thunderously, "It's the supreme blood curse of the evil path's almighty figure in the universe. Be careful." This red light appeared too suddenly, and its speed was too fast. It shot towards Su Fong's glabella like a bloody lightning bolt. Before the blood curse hit Su Fong, just the aura it released radiated on his Su Fong, causing Su Fong's perfected physical body to rapidly shrivel. In an instant, he lost nearly 1/5 of his blood chi, and his primordial spirit consciousness also went out of control. The red light was naturally formed by the evil god's soul-burning blood curse. Once it entered Su Fong's body, it would instantly be corrupted by the evil intent. Then it would burn his soul, physical body, and everything else. Not to mention Su Fong. Even the divine world's experts at the level of a small world master would be incinerated by the 10,000 resentment soul-burning blood curse. Moreover, this was only a strand of the evil god's consciousness, using the life of the universe to cast it. If the evil god himself cast it, even Luo Bao could not imagine how powerful it would be. Even if Su Fong had powerful recovery abilities and the Bloodwater clone, it would still be difficult for him to escape the suppression of the blood curse. Everything would be burned by the blood curse. Puff, puff, puff. Just as the bloody light was about to touch Su Fang's body, 3 rays of purple light shot out from Su Fang's glabella at almost the same time, colliding with the bloody light. The bloody light was sent flying 10 feet away, and a blood-colored rune appeared. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 rays of purple light were the purple luck rune talismans created by the purple Qi Law spirit devouring the demon race's fate. When they sensed the evil blood curse's attack, they automatically appeared to resist the blood curse. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the purple luck rune talismans and the blood curse collided no less than 1,000 times. The purple light and the bloody light collided, protecting Su Fang's supreme fate and the evil curse that wanted to kill Su Fang, floating 9 truths, 9 suns. Crack, crack, crack. The rune talismans formed by the blood curse shattered into pieces, turning into evil shadows that scattered in all directions. Finally, they disappeared without a trace. One of the purple luck rune talismans also shattered, turning into a mysterious purple gas that dissipated into nothingness. The other 2 flew back into Su Fang's body. At this time, Su Fang also recovered some of his consciousness. Without hesitation, he used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique to conceal his aura. Any curse technique had to be cast through one's aura. Su Fang's fate aura was completely concealed. Even if the evil god's consciousness used the soul-burning blood curse again, it lost its target. Evil god, no matter how strong you are, there will be a day when I, Su Fang, will make you pay for what you did today. Chapter 1800. Damn it, Aunt, you actually broke my blood curse. The evil god's gigantic head, in which a sliver of consciousness resided, suddenly let out a cold cry of shock and anger. Read, book, 2√3 sent the bloody light in the crack between its eyebrows suddenly exploded. Bloody light spurted out, and the face of the head showed great pain as the crack between its eyebrows rapidly closed. Explosions sounded from the head as a large area of the head collapsed, making it look even more terrifying. Nether? Marquis V was dumbfounded. The supreme heretical god's soul-burning blood curse had actually been broken. This. How is this possible? Although the supreme heretical god's consciousness only descended and broke through the seal and world shackles and was weakened to the extreme, it is still a supreme heretical god. How can a low-level existence of a great world resist the supreme divine ability of the supreme heretical god? Nether? Marquis V's evil and berserk consciousness fell into chaos. Inconceivable, truly inconceivable. There is actually such a character in the great world who has an aura that even I fear and can resist my blood curse. Nether? Marquis V, capture this person at all costs. Search his soul and strip his memories. After this seat gets to the bottom of this matter, sacrifice him to this seat. After 5 minutes, the head finally stopped collapsing. At this time, only a small portion of it was left, and it was barely able to maintain itself. The heretical god's voice also became weak and intermittent. Yes, Nether? Marquis V hurriedly agreed, but he knew very well that it was almost impossible to capture Su Fang. But if he did not agree, he would probably immediately face the fate of destruction. There was no other way. He had to agree even if he did not want to. I'm accumulating strength for the 6th attack. I have no time to pay attention to the great world. I will leave everything in the great world to you for the time being. The heretical god's voice suddenly stopped. His forehead split open again and a beam of bloody light shot out. It instantly traversed 100,000 miles of the void and swept through the nothingness. The deathly aura in this space suddenly surged, and a figure fell out of the nothingness in a sorry state. It was Mizar Divine Lord. It was unknown when Mizar Divine Lord had arrived here and used a divine ability to merge his body with the world. Even Nether? Marquis V did not expect the heretical god's consciousness to detect him. Deities from the deity world? The evil god's consciousness said coldly and embarrassedly, "You actually dare to hide here and spy on me. You really have guts." The crack between the giant head's eyebrows once again absorbed beams of blood light from the sea of blood, condensing them into blood runes. The 10,000 resentment soul-burning blood curse was about to deliver a fatal blow to the rising sun divine lord. Wait, don't kill me. The rising sun divine lord was scared out of his wits. He came here secretly to wait for Su Fong and Yue. Marquis V fought until both sides suffered heavy losses, and then he would reap the benefits. Who knew? He was actually being targeted by the wretch god, a being that even the most powerful beings in the universe were shocked and fearful of. He didn't have the protection of the violet fortune talisman, and with his current strength, there was no way he could resist the soul-searing blood curse of 10,000 resentments. The evil god's consciousness said indifferently, "Give me a reason not to kill you." The rising sun divine lord completely lost his lofty demeanor as an expert of the seal, the heaven's divine path. He trembled in fear. To the Lord evil god, I am but a lowly ant. Killing me is meaningless. Keeping me alive is more or less useful to the Lord evil god. For example, I can help the Lord evil god capture Su Fong. The blood runes in the crack between the giant head's eyebrows stopped moving, and the evil god's consciousness pondered for a moment. Then a blood rune shot out from the crack between the eyebrows, instantly landing on the rising sun divine lord's chest and disappearing without a trace. The rising sun divine lord almost fainted. Unexpectedly, the evil god said majestically, "I'll give you 100 years. You and Yue, together with V, capture this person alive. When you sacrifice him, I will descend and try to remove the blood curse for you. Although that person broke my soul-searing blood curse of 10,000 resentments, he must be seriously injured. Capturing him won't be difficult. If you can't capture him within 100 years, you and Yue, V, there's no need to continue existing." Then 2 blood-colored runes condensed from the bloody light between the eyebrows and flew to the rising sun divine lord and Yue respectively. Marquis V said, "Although my soul-searing blood curse of 10,000 resentments failed to kill that cultivator, my blood curse is so powerful that even if it can't kill him, there's an invisible power of the blood curse shrouding his fate and karma. In the area covered by my power, I can sense his existence with the help of the runes. It won't be difficult to find him." As soon as his voice fell, the evil god's consciousness vanished without a trace. The giant head could no longer hold on, collapsing and eventually turning into debris that floated in the air above the blood sea. "You want to cooperate with the resurrected deity. Su Fong, you really deserve to die. If it weren't for you, how could my life and death be controlled by the evil god?" The rising sun divine lord gritted his teeth and transferred all the hatred and anger in his heart to Su Fong. It shouldn't be difficult to kill this person, but the difficult part is how to suppress him without being detected by the supreme god race who controls the heavenly Tao of the great world. Su Fong is a genius that the god race is preparing to recruit. If he is killed, the god race who controls the heavenly Tao of the great world will definitely reverse time and trace the cause of his death. As long as the god race traces the clues, Feng Tian divine path, and I will not be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. If I don't kill him, how can I dispel the hatred in my heart? If Su Fong joins the god race, Feng Tian divine path, and I will not be able to escape his revenge in the future. The rising sun divine lord frowned and was in a dilemma. He pondered for half an hour. The rising sun divine lord's brows suddenly relaxed. How could I forget them? Whoosh! Whoosh! The rising sun divine lord rolled out a faint golden xianguang from his right palm, and 3 figures rolled out of the xianguang. They were 3 middle-aged men in black, and they looked exactly the same. They were actually triplets. The 3 of them looked ferocious, and their aura was ferocious. They had all reached the level of gods, similar to Sang Han of the Azura god race. Rising Sun. After being released by the Rising Sun Divine Lord, the 3 men in black roared like wild beasts and pounced on the Rising Sun Divine Lord at the same time. A sharp gust of wind whistled around the 3 of them, as if there was a hurricane circling around them. Green divine light surged in their eyes, condensing into a sharp gaze. Like an arrow, it spat out a sharp light that was more than a foot long. It looked very frightening. "You're courting death." The rising sun divine lord suddenly formed a seal, and faint golden chains condensed from divine patterns emerged from the three of them, firmly locking the three of them, making it difficult for them to move. Then the chains burned with astonishing flames, burning the three of them until smoke rose from their bodies, and a burnt smell drifted out. After a series of screams, the three of them became obedient. "Liao brothers, you killed the disciples of the sealing heaven divine path, and were suppressed by me. You should have been sentenced to death. Now, I will give you three brothers a chance to live. Kill a cultivator of a macro world for me, and I will pardon your death, remove the shackles on you, and let you regain your freedom." The rising sun divine lord revealed the majesty of a master of the sealing heaven divine path, and said majestically, "A macro world? This is a macro world." The three men in black were shocked and stunned. "Rising sun, with your strength, why do you need us three brothers to kill a macro world cultivator?" The more mature man in black among the three said coldly. Although he was shackled by the rising sun divine lord, he still looked unruly, and his ferocious nature had not changed. The rising sun divine lord inexplicably snorted, "Liao, eldest brother, if it was convenient for me to do it, why would I need you two brothers?" The eldest brother of the Liao family thought for a while and agreed. Then the rising sun divine lord formed a seal, and the flames of nothingness burned around the Liao brothers. It turned out that the rising sun divine lord burned the nothingness karma between himself and the Liao brothers to prevent the god race, who controlled the heavenly Tao, from investigating. Burning flame region, above the divine mulberry mountain. Su Fong flew out of the nothingness and appeared outside the boundary above the divine mulberry mountain. His perfect vision swept across the divine mulberry mountain and the surrounding sea of lava. Su Fong sensed the auras of many Jiang clan higher-ups. Last time, when the golden crow silkworm was taken away by Su Fong, Prince Shui was almost killed by the Jiang clan's punishment elder. After that, Prince Shui vented his anger on the Jiang clan and forcefully and overbearingly took the Jiang clan as his slaves. He also occupied the divine mulberry mountain and built a temporary palace. Although Prince Shui had died, the Jiang clan still could not regain their former status. The tyrant blood venerable sent his subordinates to guard the divine mulberry mountain. Su Fong's trip to Burning Flame region was to borrow the pure yang energy of the divine mulberry mountain to quickly recover his yang energy and world power. With Nether? After Marquis V's great battle and being affected by the soul-burning blood curse of 10,000 resentment, Su Fong's yang energy, world power, life power, and true qi were all greatly consumed. When the Green Feather Demon Emperor and Bai Ling returned, they would leave the ancient immortal demon battlefield through the teleportation array in Burning Flame region and return to the immortal region. Su Fong pondered for a moment in the air, and then slightly activated the life shrinking technique to conceal his aura. Then, he turned into a blood ribbon and cleverly shuttled through the cracks in the boundary. / whoosh. Su Fong, who had reformed his physical body, appeared at the foot of the divine mulberry mountain in a flash. Then he activated Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda's innate Earth-type divine power, and at the same time, he activated his physical body's Earth-type ability. After absorbing the Earth Core spiritual serum at the Kunwa Divine Mountain, Su Fong's perfect physical body had an astonishing Earth-type ability, which was no different from his true body's ability. Because this Earth-type true body came from the Kunwa Divine Mountain, Su Fong called it the Kunwa True Body. After activating his life's godly aura and Kunwa True Body, Su Fong became one with the rock. He quickly sank into the divine Mulberry Mountain, all the way until he reached the depths of the mountain. In a cave filled with boiling lava, Su Fong sat down cross-legged on a rock in the middle of the lava. The whole process was done in one go. Not to mention the Jiang clan, Even the tyrant blood venerable would not be able to detect Su Fong here. Buzz. Buzz. Chapter 1801. Of course, it wasn't that there really wasn't an eye watching Su Fong, but that there was an invisible karmic connection in the ethereal fate. Unspecified currency 8, unspecified currency 8, unspecified currency reading, unspecified currency books. O soul, searing blood curse. Su Fong activated the life shrinking technique and was shocked when he sensed the aura of the soul searing blood curse in the karmic power of fate. The soul incinerating blood curse of 10,000 wrongs was simply too overbearing. Just being affected by its aura had not only caused Su Fong's body, soul, and vital energy to be tainted, but even his ethereal fate had been tainted. Although it did not cause any substantial harm to Su Fong, it made Su Fong feel as if he was being watched by a supreme evil god. Fate was ethereal and ethereal. Not only Su Fong, but even Luo and Shu Wanjin had never heard of the Tao of Fate, nor had they heard of any divine ability similar to the life shrinking technique. The soul-searing blood curse could taint fate. This was the first time Su Fong had encountered such a thing. He was deeply shocked by the supreme evil god strength. It was simply unfathomable, far beyond Su Fong's understanding. Even Luo and Shu Wanjin were far from the level of the evil god. Fortunately, I have the life shrinking technique. Otherwise, if I was targeted by the evil god, Su Fong shuddered. The evil god's power and aura enveloped the three realms. If he didn't completely remove the soul-searing blood curse, he could easily capture Su Fong's fate aura. The consequences would be unimaginable. Su Fong immediately activated the life shrinking technique. The power of fate exploded and swept through his body. It was as if he was taking a bath from the inside out, cleansing the ethereal karmic connection of fate. The life shrinking technique was indeed a supreme divine ability of fate. It gave Su Fong a feeling that it was even stronger than the 9 Suns' 9 transformations. Next, Su Fong settled down inside the divine Mulberry Mountain. Due to the obstruction of the magic treasure space, Su Fong could not absorb the energy of the outside world in the Time Cave abode and the True Dragon realm. He could only leave his original body in the cave inside the divine Mulberry Mountain and absorb the majestic pure yang aura in the divine Mulberry Mountain and the magma to cultivate the 9 yang 9 transformations. As for the other Bloodwater doppelgangers, they were left behind by Su Fong in the Cavern of Time to comprehend the mysterious Tao runes of the life shrinking technique and the true runes of the heaven spreading mystery. As for the other cultivation methods, after the birth of Su Fong's inner world, some of them could no longer keep up with Su Fong's level and had to be abandoned. Currently, Su Fong was mainly cultivating the world tree, absorbing the power of the outside world to improve his cultivation. The world tree also transformed the power of the world into the power of the yin-yang world, constantly enriching and expanding the world in his body. The Fire Cloud Monarch body, Black Lotus True Body, Dragon Subduing True Body, and other true bodies had already become a part of the world tree. As long as the world tree continued to absorb world power from the great world, the abilities of the various true bodies would naturally increase as well. Su Fong also focused on cultivating Shu Yunkong's Way of Time and the 4 Seasons Samsara Seal. However, the Way of Time was too profound. Su Fong had only grasped the 4 Seasons Samsara Seal. Su Fong had not even scratched the surface of the other remarkable abilities of the Way of Time. The other thing was the Netherworld Samsara technique. The Netherworld Blood Sea's devouring ability was invincible. Even after reaching the divine level, it was still very useful to Su Fong. Su Fong also had a great wish, which was to complete the wish of the Netherworld Monarch back then, which was to establish an immortal samsara world. He even wanted to create the immortal samsara path in his inner world. Therefore, the Netherworld Samsara technique was something that Su Fong had been persisting in cultivating. Li Haojia and the Lord of 5 Poisons had also established their own cultivation dojos in the True Dragon realm and were cultivating in seclusion. They had yet to recover from the great battle in the ancient Fey world. The rest of his subordinates were also cultivating in the true dragon realm. With the cultivation resources provided by Su Fong, their cultivation speed naturally increased by leaps and bounds. The cultivators of the great world could not compare to them. The only thing that worried Su Fong was Luo. During the battle with the Blood River Lord in the ancient Fey world, he had burned his primordial spirit origin. Although the primordial spirit of the Mammoth Wonder Beast had recovered quite a bit, it had yet to fully recover. However, Luo had always been optimistic. Not only was he not depressed, but he would often joke around with Su Fong. He would also constantly encourage Su Fong to develop friendships with some of the women in the True Dragon realm, such as Zhang Riyun, Huang Lingyao, Lady Zhu, and even Wang Yuzhen and Huang Fufei. Luo would often mention this to Su Fong, causing Su Fong to be very depressed. Su Fong would also occasionally give some pointers to Zhu Yin, the unnamed disciple he had taken in the incineration flame domain. Zhu Yin's talent was not particularly outstanding, but Su Fong could see his own shadow in him. He had perseverance and perseverance. If he had a great opportunity in the future, he would definitely be an extraordinary person. The dragon bird was released by Su Fong. It dived into the lava and disappeared without a trace. Su Fong thought that the dragon bird would continue to dive into the lava to capture the big goblin and monsters that contained the power of pure yang. Who knew that after it dived into the lava, it would fly out of the lava ocean around the Divine Mulberry Mountain and head straight for the Divine Mulberry Tree on the Divine Mulberry Mountain. Then, the dragon bird entrenched itself on the Divine Mulberry Tree. It was actually absorbing the pure yang aura within the Divine Mulberry Tree. The Divine Mulberry Tree was an ancient divine tree. Legend had it that the divine sun rose from the rushing current valley where the Divine Mulberry Tree was located. With the destruction of the ancient continent that was born at the beginning of the world, the sunrise of the rushing current valley was no longer seen. The Divine Mulberry Tree of the Jiang clan was not the same Divine Mulberry Tree, but it was also a divine tree that was born after absorbing the essence of the sun. The golden crow silkworm was also born from the Divine Mulberry Tree. The dragon bird would definitely benefit greatly from absorbing the pure yang aura of the Divine Mulberry Tree. The appearance of the dragon bird, a monster that was neither a dragon nor a phoenix, on the Divine Mulberry Tree would definitely attract the attention of many people. However, the terrifying aura released by the dragon bird caused even peak high-level Dao realm experts to tremble in fear. Who would dare to approach it? Finally, the dragon bird alerted Supremacy Tyrant Blood. No one is allowed to approach the Divine Mulberry Mountain and the surrounding 1,000 miles. Those who disobey my orders will be killed without mercy. Although Supremacy Tyrant Blood had never seen the dragon bird before, he was well aware of all the rumors surrounding Su Fong. Naturally, he also knew that the dragon bird was Su Fong's divine beast. After determining that Su Fong was cultivating in the Divine Mulberry Mountain, Supremacy Tyrant Blood was pleasantly surprised. He immediately issued a strict order and personally oversaw the Jiang clan to prevent anyone from disturbing Su Fong. 30 years passed in the blink of an eye. Nether? Marquis V and the Rising Sun Divine Lord used the blood-colored rune created by the evil god to search the entire ancient immortal demon battlefield, including the territories of the human race, demon race, and Yao race. However, there was no movement from the blood-colored rune. They would never have thought that Su Fong would use the life-shrinking technique to burn away the fate karma left behind by the 10,000 resentment soul-burning blood curse. How could they sense Su Fong's fate aura through the blood-colored rune? These two divine realm experts couldn't help but panic. The supreme evil god had given them a total of 100 years. Now a third of it had passed, but they hadn't even found Su Fong's shadow. Once the 100 years were up, none of them would be able to escape death. Could it be that the rune created by Lord Evil God has lost its effect? The two divine realm experts bumped into each other. The Rising Sun Divine Lord couldn't help but raise his doubts. You dare to question the supreme evil god? Marquis V said coldly. Su Fong must have left the ancient immortal demon battlefield and returned to the immortal domain. He must have been blocked by the power of heaven and earth. so we can't sense his existence. This seat will head to the immortal domain right away. The rising sun divine lord left the ancient immortal demon battlefield and sent a message to the three brothers of the Liao family. Leave the search for Su Fong to this divine realm expert of the Seal Heaven Divine Path. When he and Su Fong are both injured, this seat will take action and suppress them. All the credit will belong to this seat. This seat can use this time to sweep through the ancient immortal demon battlefield and use the blood essence of the human, demon, and Yao experts to create a new avatar for Lord Evil God. If I perform these two great deeds for the supreme evil god, I will definitely be rewarded by him. Marquis V remained in the ancient immortal demon battlefield, causing a calamity that swept through the ancient immortal demon battlefield. Marquis? How terrifying was Marquis V's strength? Under his leadership, the army of resurrected experts swept through everything in their path. The first to suffer was the Yao's territory, followed by the human race. Nether? Wherever Marquis V went, a material plane was completely turned into a wasteland. Human cultivators and Big Goblin were either devoured or captured alive and had their blood essence extracted to create a new avatar for the evil god. Divine Mulberry Mountain. Su Fong, who was cultivating inside the mountain, suddenly felt a movement in his body. He opened his eyes. It was not a movement from the Yang Meridian. After absorbing the pure Yang essence of the divine Mulberry Mountain for cultivation over the years, his Yang energy had been restored to its peak, but he still could not produce the seventh transformation of a Yang Meridian. The movement came from Gue Gue. It turned out that Gue Gue had been devouring the blood infant for so many years, and now she had finally undergone a great transformation. At this time, Gue Gue had completely transformed into a human and no longer looked like a monster. Her entire body exuded an evil and bloody aura, somewhat similar to an Azura. In her deep eyes, there was a deep and dark sea of blood spiraling. Just looking at it made one feel like they were being devoured. In addition to the omnipotent devouring ability, Gue Gue's most powerful ability was to spray poison and detoxify. With Gue Gue's current strength, even a demigod expert can be easily poisoned to death. Even a deity like Sang-Han would lose a layer of skin after being stained by her poison. Good. With Gue Gue's improvement, Su Fong was naturally overjoyed. 9 true, 9 Yanghe then sensed the dragon bird. At this time, the dragon bird was lying on the divine mulberry tree in a deep sleep, and it was unknown when she would wake up. Su Fongda, venerable tyrant blood, could not sit still and flew to the divine mulberry mountain to pay a visit to Su Fong. Nether? Marquis V, do you really think you can do whatever you want in the great world? Hearing venerable tyrant blood's explanation, Su Fong appeared on the divine mulberry mountain. Chapter 1802. Su Fongda. That resurrected deity is extremely powerful. I don't know if you are confident in suppressing him. If you're not confident, why don't you temporarily avoid him? The people of Su Fongda are the cornerstone of the human race and the great world. If something happens to them, Supremacy Tyrant Blood heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that Su Fong had decided to take action. The resurrected deity had already swept through more than half of the human race's forces. Even the heavenly incense ancient realm had fallen. Almost none of the heavenly incense ancient realm cultivators were spared. Next, the Tyrant Blood ancient realm would face a calamity. Supremacy Tyrant Blood was a demigod, but he was not even an ant in front of the resurrected deity. He was powerless to stop the resurrected deity. How could Supremacy Tyrant Blood not be nervous under such circumstances? Now that Su Fong had agreed to take action, he was naturally relieved. However, when he thought about how Su Fong might not be confident in dealing with the resurrected deity, Supremacy Tyrant Blood became worried and cautiously advised Su Fong to give up on the ancient immortal demon battlefield. Su Fong himself was not confident. After thinking for a while, Su Fong separated a Yang immortal and entered the central space-time of the ancient immortal realm, releasing his Yang energy and will. Su Fong, what is it? A gust of cold air gushed out from the seal. Then, a black mirror condensed. Shu Wanjin's cold voice sounded from the mirror. Su Fong will encounter mystery? She slowly explained the matter of Marquis V. Then she asked, Senior sister, how is your recovery? Can you join forces with me to activate the divine mirror and use its supreme power to kill the resurrected deity? I've already recovered from activating the divine mirror the last time. I can join forces with you to activate the divine mirror, but I don't recommend it. You have only just entered the 6th transformation, and your inner world has not been born for long. If you activate it again, it will consume too much 9-yang energy. It will definitely shake your inner world and affect your future path of cultivation. With your current strength, you can easily protect yourself against such a powerful, resurrected deity. However, it is too risky to kill it. I suggest you avoid it. You know you cannot do it, but still do it. This is not courage, but stupidity. Shu Wanjin spoke tirelessly. Although her tone was cold, it was not as strict as before. Many thanks for senior sister's teachings. Su Fong understands now. Don't think about activating the divine mirror unless it is a matter of life and death. In addition, although the origin sacred mirror is powerful, it is still an external force. If you rely on external forces too much, it will do more harm than good to your Tao heart and future cultivation. The cold air rolled out of the black mirror and disappeared along with the black mirror without a trace. Looks like I can only rely on myself. S Marquis. Second primordial spirit. You have taken over the body of the Lord of Dark World. What level have you reached now? Su Fong thought of his second primordial spirit. That, Ts, the est. The power of my soul right now is roughly on par with the revived god. I can pose a great threat to him, but it'll be rather difficult to kill him. The second primordial spirit's words gave Su Fong some confidence. You? Marquis V, I'm going to kill you this time. After pondering for a while, Su Fong's eyes revealed a decisive look, and a domineering aura arose spontaneously. The divine mulberry mountain and the surrounding magma ocean were filled with fire elemental power of nature. Furthermore, they contained a shocking amount of pure yang divine power, which had a suppressive effect on the deathly aura. The best location for V Marquis. If he backed down this time, it was unknown how many cultivators would be devoured by the resurrected powerhouse. It would also be a blow to Su Fong's Tao heart and confidence. Since that was the case, why not work with you? Even if he had to pay a price for a head-on battle with Marquis V, he would not hesitate. After a series of careful arrangements, boom, Su Fong released his aura with the help of the world's divine might and soared into the sky. About 2 hours later, from the void came a gloom. Marquis V laughed evilly. Su Fong, you actually didn't leave the ancient immortal demon battlefield. You really surprised me. His voice was still echoing in the sky above the divine mulberry mountain. You? Marquis V flew out of the void with monstrous deathly aura. You? The evil green flames in Marquis V's eyes flickered, and then he looked down at Su Fong. I didn't expect that not only did you break the evil god soul-burning blood curse, but you also removed the power of the blood curse that enveloped your karma. Su Fong, you simply shocked me. If the evil god knew about this, he would definitely be shocked. Then he said coldly and embarrassedly, you deliberately released your aura to lure me here. You probably want to use this pure yang land to kill me, right? Unfortunately, you have the wrong idea. If this was the rushing current valley where the sun rises, I would naturally be very afraid and immediately turn around and leave. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Although the pure yang divine power here has some effect on me, it can't affect me from killing you. You really have a lot of nonsense to say, Su Fong mocked. Su Fong, not only the great world, but even the myriad worlds will submit to the evil god. Although you are extraordinary and can be considered a rare, peerless figure in the great world, it's a pity that you were born at the wrong time. Accept your fate. I will search your soul and strip your memories. All your secrets will be in my hands, and I will sacrifice your body to the evil god. You? Marquis V laughed wildly. The deathly aura under his feet swirled, forming two evil whirlwinds. Then he strode out and stepped on the barrier above the divine mulberry mountain. Boom! A powerful barrier that could stop a demigod powerhouse was in you. The barrier under Marquis V's feet collapsed. You? V buried heaven. You? Marquis V shouted coldly, and the evil, deathly aura that was everywhere in the world surged. The evil death law shrouded the world, and the space within a radius of 10,000 miles instantly turned into a world of death. Tombs emerged from the world, and the aura of decay and death filled the world. Su Fong, why don't you surrender? You? Marquis V was like a death god that had descended, creating a world of death and controlling everything in the world. As his voice fell, his will turned into a supreme divine ability. The power of the laws in the world circulated, and the tombs surged like an ocean, forming an evil force that shackled Su Fong and turned Su Fong into a part of the tombs. Boom! After the deathly aura tumbled, it condensed into a huge black tombstone that was 10,000 feet tall. It fell from the sky, and with a terrifying evil divine might that suppressed all life, it crashed towards Su Fong. What a powerful resurrected god. It's almost the same as the Blood River Lord Slaughter clone, but it won't be that easy to suppress my Su Fong. You? Marquis V swept through the ancient immortal demon battlefield and devoured countless lives. Not only did he make up for the energy he had expended in the battle with Su Fong, but he was also slightly stronger than before. However, it would not be easy for him to suppress Su Fong. The power of the inner world exploded from Su Fong's body, shattering the surrounding shackles layer by layer. Su Fong's body regained its freedom. Then, Su Fong faced the huge tombstone that was descending from the sky and punched out. A terrifying aura that could split the world and the heavenly Tao erupted and collided with the tombstone. Boom! 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 The tombstone shattered layer by layer. Su Fong's aura was also worn down layer by layer, and his body continued to fall. When the tombstone collapsed, Su Fong was also pressed into the magma sea by the tombstone. How can an ant-like, low-level existence like you resist my supreme divine might? Marquis V's evil laughter echoed between heaven and earth, and then his divine might extended into the magma. The rolling magma immediately turned into you, a part of Marquis V's tombstone world, which contained astonishing fire and pure yang power, also disappeared in the deathly aura. Swoosh! A black Xian Guang shot out without any shackles. It shuttled through the void like black lightning and headed straight for you. It shot towards Marquis V's head, and a terrifying essence spirit's divine might spurted out. Feeling the terror of the essence spirit's power, you? Marquis V's sinister laughter came to an abrupt end. What the hell is that? It can actually release the essence spirit's power of a deity realm expert. Could it be the essence spirit of that Azura expert? No, this is not the essence spirit of an Azura. Chi! You? Countless phantoms shot out from Marquis V's eyes. They overlapped and formed a terrifying wave. They were the consciousnesses of cultivators, big goblin, and demons. Marquis V devoured and merged them. At this moment, he released them to resist the second essence spirit's attack. The resurrected expert was not Night Demon. He had fused with the essence spirits of cultivators, big goblin, and demons, causing their essence spirits to become extremely violent and lose their self-consciousness. They could not be considered essence spirits, but were controlled by evil power. They acted completely on instinct like walking corpses. This was also the reason why the resurrected expert devoured all life. You, Marquis V, was indeed worthy of being called a resurrected deity from the universe. He had devoured countless lives, including experts from the god realm. After fusing with the blood, energy, and primordial spirits of these lives, he had also obtained the power of their primordial spirits. Marquis V's essence spirit's power was violent and powerful, but he could still maintain his consciousness. Puff! The second essence spirit, Enyu? The essence spirit's power clashed with each other, and they were evenly matched. In you, most of Marquis V's attention was diverted to the second essence spirit. The explosive, deathly aura immediately weakened by more than half, and the world of death he created became much more illusory. Boom! Su Fong soared into the sky from the magma, condensed by the deathly aura. His eyes flashed with a mysterious and ethereal light. Then, he suddenly formed a seal with both hands. Hundreds of illusory runes suddenly appeared in the surrounding void. They were the runes Su Fong had set up with the life-shrinking technique. After being activated by Su Fong's seal, they exploded with astonishing destiny power. Lightning of destiny. You? Marquis V first felt an illusory force locking onto his destiny. He could not help but be shocked. Chapter 1803. Over the years in Divine Mulberry Mountain, Su Fong did not hesitate to consume his life force to create runes of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. Every time he created a rune, it was equivalent to using the lightning of destiny once. Hundreds of runes meant hundreds of times of consumption and recovery. The pain he endured was like experiencing the cycle of life and death. If not for his extremely tenacious Tao heart, even if he had a supreme divine power like the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and the ability to recover his life force, just creating hundreds of runes of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique was enough to make one's will completely collapse. Talent and opportunities were important to step onto the peak of the path of cultivation, but perseverance were the foundation. This was also the main reason why Su Fong was able to go from being a trash who couldn't cultivate to being able to overcome all obstacles and climb all the way to where he was now. Whether it was a supreme cultivation technique or a supreme divine artifact, like the primordial origin sacred mirror, they were all just auxiliary. At this moment, these hundreds of runes of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique played an astonishing role in the life and death battle with the resurrected experts of the various worlds. Boom! Boom! Su Fong activated the runes at the same time, as if he was facing nether valiance. Marquis V's ethereal fate struck more than 100 lightning of destiny. Nether valiance? One could imagine how Marquis V felt when he was bombarded by so many lightning of destiny. Only nether valiance? Marquis V's body collapsed layer by layer as the deathly aura in his body flowed out crazily, turning into nothingness. The phantoms that were fighting with the second essence soul were also destroyed by the lightning of destiny. Nether valiance? The tomb world created by Marquis V also collapsed. The divine power of death that shackled the world disappeared. Ah, damn it. What kind of divine power is this? Marquis V screamed like a malicious ghost. The power of the lightning of destiny ended in the blink of an eye. To Su Fong's surprise, nether valiance? Marquis V wasn't wiped out by the lightning of destiny as he had imagined. His aura was weak, and his body withered and shattered like a mummy. More than half of his strength had been exhausted, but he wasn't completely dead. How can this be? Su Fong's heart sank as he looked at nether valiance in disbelief. Marquis V. This result was simply too unexpected. Su Fong had used Destiny's Thunder to deal significant damage to the Blood River Lord. Back then, Su Fong had been far weaker than he was now. When Su Fong suppressed the Lord of the Dark Dimension, he had created talismans with a dozen or so lightning of destiny. He had also heavily injured the Lord of the Dark Dimension before successfully suppressing him. At this moment, over 100 bolts of lightning of destiny were actually unable to kill Netherworld. Marquis V's resurrection was naturally beyond Su Fong's expectations. Law's solemn voice came from within his body. The resurrected expert had already fallen and his fate had already ended. He borrowed the power of the evil god to reverse the cycle of reincarnation to be resurrected. On the other hand, the fate that belonged to the resurrection had already disappeared. How can the lightning of fate destroy something that does not exist? Therefore, the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique is not very effective in reviving experts. I see. Once a cultivator died, It meant that they disappeared from the world. Naturally, there was no such thing as fate. The Heaven's secret life shrinking technique had the ability to deceive, change one's own fate, seize it by force, and suppress the fate of others. The resurrected expert had already lost his fate and naturally could not be suppressed. Even the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique, which had always been successful, had lost its effect. Only now did Su Fong realize that there was no technique or divine ability in this world that was truly invincible. Even if Destiny's thunder cannot kill Netherworld, I still have the ability to kill Marquis V. Second primordial spirit, attack his divine aperture. Su Fong's eyes flashed with ruthlessness and decisiveness as he immediately ordered his second primordial spirit. Swoosh! Although the Destiny's Thunder Rune Talisman failed to kill Netherworld, Marquis V's attack, it still caused him heavy injuries. Taking advantage of Netherworld, while Marquis V was in a weakened state, the Black Rune Talisman that his second primordial spirit resided in shot out and hit the space between his eyebrows. Marquis V's divine aperture defense entered the sea of divine apertures. Netherworld? Marquis V's divine aperture was like a world of death. What was rolling in the sea of magic power was not magic power, but the power of death that could communicate with the deathly aura of heaven and earth and annihilate all life. What floated above the sea of magic power was not a young immortal, but a tall and majestic evil phantom. No matter whose primordial spirit you are in my divine aperture. How can you be so arrogant? As soon as the second primordial spirit broke through the divine aperture, the evil phantom waved its arm and released an incomparably majestic evil intent that formed shocking wave. It raised the sea of magic power below and swept toward the second primordial spirit. The second primordial spirit gradually came out of the rune talisman and turned into a black-clothed Su Fong. Then it exploded with monstrous primordial spirit sword chi and collided with Netherworld. Marquis V began to collide. Su Fong activated the world in his body, which instantly covered thousands of miles of space-time in the Great World. The power of nature of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and thunder howled, and the heavenly Tao operated. Marquis V's body shackled. You actually cultivated a small world in your body. There is actually such a genius in the Great World. I can't allow you to exist. Marquis V was shocked and let out an incomparably horrified roar. You should first consider your own life and death. Su Fong's voice that sounded like the heavenly Tao came from the world. Then, the primordial chaos sacred mirror appeared in Netherworld. Above Marquis V's head, a red light shot out from the mirror and landed on Netherworld. Marquis V's body immediately turned into the terrifying Nine-Yang true fire and burned with a huff. Su Fong knew very well that his world had just been born, and the power of the world was not enough to suppress Netherworld. Marquis V's suppression, and might even be suppressed by Netherworld. Marquis V had shattered his world, so the purpose of activating the world in his body was not to kill him, but to shackle him. The Nine-Yang true fire was targeting Netherworld. Marquis V's killer move. Boom! A bloody light came from Netherworld. It burst out from Marquis V's body, forming a terrifying impact that was like the change of heaven and earth. It actually forcefully pushed away the Nine-Yang true fire on his body. A blood sun the size of a wash basin slowly rose from the top of his head and floated above his head. It was exactly the same as the evil sun in the sky, but it was countless times smaller. The blood sun released an incomparably evil divine might, shaking Su Fong's world. The laws collapsed, and space-time was destroyed, making it difficult to continue. Moreover, the divine might of the blood sun also contained a filthy and corrosive evil power that constantly corroded Su Fong's world. Su Fong hurriedly retracted his world power, and his main body staggered and appeared in the great world space. Netherworld? In Marquis V's divine aperture, as the blood sun rose, a violent thought suddenly burst out, shaking his second primordial spirit out of the divine aperture. Damn it, Netherworld. Marquis V actually had such a powerful trump card. Not only did Su Fong almost exhaust all the world power in his body, but his world also almost collapsed. This netherworld? Marquis V was indeed not so easy to kill. Su Fong continued to activate the origin sacred mirror, releasing a red light that clashed with the divine might of the blood sun. The red light and the blood light collided and sizzled. Although the blood light successfully blocked the red light released by the ancient realm, the blood sun was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. Su Fong, you actually forced me to release the supreme divine power bestowed by the evil god. What kind of divine weapon is that? How can it release such domineering, true fire? Netherworld? Marquis V gritted his teeth. The green flames in his eyes dimmed and flashed rapidly. His second primordial spirit had caused him quite a bit of damage. He seemed to have been completely drained, turning into a skeleton with only skin and bones. Clearly, he had used up all of his strength to unleash the blood-red sun. As long as one sacrificed a powerful life to the evil god, they would obtain a trace of the evil god's supreme divine power. Netherworld? Marquis V had suppressed countless cultivators in the divine world and sacrificed them to the evil god to condense this blood sun. Consuming a little bit of it was equivalent to consuming his origin. How could not be heartbroken? This divine artifact must be the one that Lord Evil God values. Once I suppress you, I will offer your divine artifact and your physical body to the evil god. Boom, boom. From Netherworld, Marquis V's eyes shot out shadows, turning into more than 1,000 resurrected experts. There were cultivators, demons, and big goblin. The auras of these resurrected experts were completely different from those of the Great World. Cultivators, big goblin, and demons were resurrected with the help of the death aura and were also tainted with the power of the world. Netherworld? The resurrected experts released by Marquis V did not have the origin aura of the Great World. What was even more shocking was that the weakest of these resurrected experts was at the peak of the Tao realm, and more than a dozen of them had reached the level of a demigod. Netherworld? Marquis V had used all his strength at this time. The Blood Sun, the 3 god-level corpse puppets that Su Fong had killed, and the more than 1,000 resurrected experts were all Netherworld. All of Marquis V's belongings. Su Fong, this resurrected god, is not someone you can fight against. Retreat. A thunderous shout came from the time and space cave abode in Law's body. The resurrected experts of the divine world are so powerful. Only by joining forces with Shu Wanjin's world to activate the divine mirror can we kill them. I'm really unwilling to accept this. Although Su Fong was unwilling, he could only put away the divine mirror and prepare to leave. If Marquis V continued to pester him, the result could be imagined. Su Fong, isn't it a little too late to leave now? Netherworld? Marquis V laughed sinisterly and was very proud. With a wave of his hand, more than 1,000 resurrected experts charged towards Su Fong. At this moment, Su Fong suddenly looked at the divine mulberry tree. The dragon bird suddenly opened its eyes, and a blazing sun-like light burst out of its eyes. Then, it soared into the sky and let out an incomparably loud and clear cry. The cry that sounded like a dragon's roar and a phoenix's cry resounded through the sky, causing the death aura that shrouded heaven and earth to suddenly dim a little. Then, rays of sun-like light rapidly gathered toward the dragon bird from the magma below, the divine mulberry mountain, and from heaven and earth. In an instant. Chapter 1804. The dragon bird cried, and the divine sun rose into the sky. The dragon bird circled around the divine sun proudly, like an ancient divine bird controlling the sun. Is an element of 8, is an element of 8, is an element of read, is an element of book, to infinity 3, under the envelopment of the divine sun's power, nether. More than 1,000 resurrected experts under Marquis V emitted green smoke and burned under the dazzling golden light of the sun. Many resurrected experts let out shrill screams as an intense fear surged out of their instincts. They were dominated by a frenzied consciousness and were like headless flies. How could they have the time to care about Su Fong? In other words, nether? Because Marquis V was protected by the Blood Sun, he was not affected by the Divine Sun. But Nether? The Blood Sun above Marquis V's head rapidly consumed the power of the heretical god under the pure yang radiance of the Divine Sun powder, and the blood light burned. Under the Dragon Bird's divine power, Su Fong's exhausted yang energy was recovering bit by bit. The Dragon Bird absorbed the aura of the divine mulberry tree and transformed. It actually has such an astonishing ability. Not only can it release the sun god's arrow, but it can also gather the pure yang energy between heaven and earth and transform it into a divine sun. Su Fong was pleasantly surprised. The Dragon Bird had brought him a huge surprise. How could Su Fong miss such an opportunity? Primordial chaos, sacred realm. Su Fong immediately spat out an ancient mirror from his mouth, and then injected his 9-yang true qi into it. Qi, a red light like the scorching sun, broke out of the mirror. Nether? Marquis V was using the power of the Blood Sun to resist the Dragon Bird's divine power. Now that he was attacked by an ancient realm expert, the red light immediately burned a large hole in the protective divine power released by the Blood Sun, enveloping him once again. The red light released by the primordial chaos sacred mirror was countless times more terrifying than the light released by the Dragon Bird's divine Sunday. However, without Shu Wanjin, Su Fong could not use the true power of the divine mirror, and the area it covered was far less astonishing than the Dragon Bird's. Furthermore, the Dragon Bird's newly born innate ability could continuously absorb pure yang energy from heaven and earth. Coupled with the abundant pure yang energy contained in the divine mulberry mountain and magma, the Dragon Bird's sun god's power multiplied. It was as if it had summoned an ancient divine sun, and its power was terrifying. The sun god might of the Dragon Bird and the 9-yang true flames of the primordial chaos sacred mirror were both lethal restraints against resurrected powerhouses. Being haunted? Marquis V's final trump card, the heretical god force, was unable to withstand the dual attacks of the primordial chaos holy mirror and the Dragon Bird. The Blood Sun was being consumed at an astonishing speed. His body was also being burned by the 9-yang true fire. Meanwhile, the resurrected powerhouses were struggling bitterly under the Dragon Bird's divine might. The situation was suddenly reversed by the Dragon Bird. Damn it, what kind of monster is this? It can actually summon the divine sun and cause all my efforts to go to waste. Su Fong, when this seed escapes, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. Marquis V continued to roar and threatened Su Fong. Whoosh! At this moment, Su Fong once again released his second primordial spirit. Xiangyu? Marquis V launched a Yuan Shin attack and broke his divine aperture again. He entered the sea of divine apertures and opened up a new battlefield. Do you still have a chance to escape my suppression? Su Fong smiled coldly. Then, he stripped the primordial chaos holy mirror from the Yang Immortal's control and continued to spit out the 9-yang true fire. At the same time, he took out the Xianming lightning archive. I'll let you experience the power of a supreme divine artifact just now. Now, I'll let you and your resurrected subordinates have a taste of the power of a supreme Tao artifact of a great world. Su Fong did not care about anything else. He activated the purple cloud Dharma spirit and released a supreme divine might that could control a Dharma treasure. Then, he used the lightning of destiny to activate the Xianming lightning archive. Although directly activating the lightning of destiny could not suppress Marquis V, Marquis V's fate and the lightning divine might unleashed by the Xianming lightning scroll were real. The Xianming lightning archive was not at the level of a divine artifact, but the lightning power was the most terrifying power in nature. Its ability to restrain evil power was not inferior to pure yang power. In an instant, lightning covered everything. One by one, the resurrected experts were turned into ashes by the terrifying lightning. Only the dozen or so resurrected demigod experts barely managed to defend themselves. Every one of them was badly damaged by the lightning energy. Bang! The power of the Xianming lightning archive was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Marquis, The blood sun above Marquis V's head finally ran out of power and dissipated into nothingness. As for Nethery, who had lost the protection of the blood sun, Marquis V's body burned from the inside out. His body was fatally injured. Marquis V's divine aperture could not resist the divine might of the second primordial spirit and was easily crushed by it. I didn't expect that I would be killed by a great world cultivator instead of obtaining eternal life. I can't accept this. Su Fong, don't be so smug. The deity of the heaven-sealing divine, Tao, has already gone to the immortal region. If he can't find your whereabouts within 100 years and capture you alive, he will be suppressed by the supreme evil god. What kind of crazy thing can he not do? As far as I know, he has already captured your family and friends and forced you to show yourself. You should obediently send yourself to your death. Even if you kill me and all the deities of the heaven-sealing divine Tao, you still can't escape the fate of being suppressed by the supreme evil god. Lord Evil God is accumulating power, and it won't be long before the sixth blood sun, Evil Sun, rises. The heavenly Tao will be controlled by Lord Evil God. Can you still resist Lord Evil God? Marquis V's evil laughter echoed between heaven and earth. Chi, Dragonbird released a sun god arrow and hit Marquis V's head. Marquis V's wild laughter came to an abrupt end. His body was burned to ashes by the nine-yang true fire and the divine might of the sun and scattered in all directions. Su Fong used almost all his means and finally killed the resurrected deity from the myriad heavens' divine world. Suppress all of them. Su Fong urged the divine might of the world in his body to cover the dozen or so severely injured resurrected demigods and put them all into his internal world. These resurrected powerhouses had reached the level of demigods. When his second primordial spirit devoured the Lord of the Dark Realm, he could use night demons' means to control these demigod powerhouses and make them his slaves. With Marquis V killed, the only top expert among the resurrected powerhouses of the great world was the beautiful resurrected female cultivator. Moreover, she was still seriously injured and was nothing to worry about. It was difficult for resurrected powerhouses to set off a doomsday catastrophe that could destroy the great world. Venerable Tyrant Blood broke through the air and looked at Su Fong, his eyes full of awe and excitement. He cupped his fists and bowed deeply to Su Fong. Su Fongda can even kill the resurrected powerhouses of the myriad heavens' divine world. Who in the great world can defeat them? Moreover, Lord saved the great world with his own strength and resolved the catastrophe of destruction. Such a great achievement will forever be recorded in the history of the great world and be revered by all generations. Su Fong waved his hand, his face pale and his expression very solemn. Venerable Tyrant Blood immediately shut his mouth. Su Fong couldn't feel happy that he had solved the big threat of the resurrected powerhouses. Naturally, it was because of Marquis V's words. Su Fong's father, Fong Yao Tian, the Fong clan, Xianin Tian, Li Ziqing, Lan Haicheng, Xiao Mei Su Jinhua, and others were all staying in the True Dragon world. However, in the Square Heaven Great World, there were still countless subordinates of Su Fong, as well as the 5 small worlds that Su Fong had brought to the Great World. The Big Goblin, such as the Tongtian Demon Venerable, the Undying Turtle, and the Barbarian God Demon Venerable were also left in the Square Heaven Great World. What if it was really like Marquis? As Marquis V said before his death, the Square Heaven Great World would be very dangerous. Law reminded, Su Fong, you just had a fierce battle, and now you have received such news. You must calm down and not panic. The most important thing for you now is to recover quickly. If you don't recover your strength, everything is just a dream. Law, thank you for your reminder. Su Fong let out a long breath and calmed his heart. Then, he landed on Shun Seng Mountain and entered the Time Cave abode. After forming the seal, Su Fong's physical body collapsed and turned into the underworld Blood Sea. At the same time, he also activated the recovery ability of the Black Lotus True Body and the Dragon Subduing True Body. He crazily swallowed all kinds of elixirs, spiritual objects, and the crystals condensed from the blood chi of the ancient gluttonous demon to replenish his consumed life force, yang force, and inner world force. With you? In the fierce battle with Marquis V, Su Fang's inner world almost collapsed, and his injuries could be said to be very serious. Fortunately, he obtained the Earth Core spiritual serum in the Kunwa Divine Mountain and obtained the Kunwa True Body. His physical body and inner world had become very stable. In addition, he cultivated the 9 Yang 9 transformations with pure Yang force in the Divine Sang Mountain, causing the Yang Qi in the Yang Meridian to become even more vast. Otherwise, it would be quite dangerous this time. After spending 3 days in the Time Cave abode, Su Fang's life force recovered to its peak state. This was mainly due to the ancient gluttonous demon killed in the Demon Birth Abyss. The crystals condensed from its blood chi had a great effect on Su Fang's rapid recovery of life force. However, it would be difficult for the inner world to recover in a short period of time. Su Fang walked out of the Time Cave abode. He sat down cross-legged under the Divine Sang tree. Closing his eyes, he adjusted his mind until it was as still as water. Only then did he use the mysterious solution of heaven's divination as the main force. At the same time, he also activated the life shrinking technique. These 2 supreme divine abilities were used simultaneously, using the square heaven great world as the source to deduce the mysteries of heaven. After a while, Su Fang's body exuded an unfathomable and mysterious aura. In the depths of his mind, the yin-yang vortex formed from the convergence of true characters suddenly exploded with a great disturbance. Some mysterious true characters, either bright or dark, flickered and refracted the ethereal and mysterious Xianguan. Then, they condensed into the phantom of the square heaven great world, which emitted a thick layer of bloodlight. A great calamity. Su Fang's body swayed, and he vomited a mouthful of blood. His aura instantly became dispirited and listless. Prying into the mysteries of heaven and deducing fate would result in a backlash from the power of heaven. Moreover, Su Fang also activated the life shrinking technique at the same time. His fate and lifespan had suffered a great loss, but it was still within an acceptable range. Mizar Divine Lord, if you disregard your status and dare to attack the square heaven great world, I, Su Fang, swear that when I go to the myriad heavens in the future, I will destroy the sealing heaven divine sect. Su Fang said murderously. Su Fang gave instructions to the tyrant blood sage, mainly asking him to take care of the green feathered demon emperor, who was searching for the sacred land of the Peng clan, and Bai Ling, who was trying to break through to the demon saint realm in the ancient demon world. Then, Su Fang went straight to Tung City in the Burning Flame Domain and came to an ancient space formation in a mountain not far from Tung City. Buzz. Chapter 1805. Chaotic Sky, Great World. In a chaotic abyss, there are countless star fragments and ruins floating in it. On a broken ancient star fragment, inside a valley, there was a palace created with divine abilities and array formations. Although the palace wasn't big, there were more than 10 cultivators guarding it. Moreover, these cultivators had all reached the Tao realm. More than a dozen immortal venerables could be regarded as a powerful force in any immortal domain of a large world. However, they were used as gatekeepers to guard the palace. If anyone saw this scene, they would definitely find it inconceivable. Inside the palace, in the center, there was a spatial array formation created with spirit stones. The hazy 7-colored distorted light emitted a faint spatial distortion, divine might. Around this spatial teleportation array formation, 3 figures sat cross-legged. Among them, there were 2 big goblin. One of the big goblin was an ancient ferocious beast, an ape. The other had transformed into a human form. Its body was filled with dense demonic energy. Its strength had reached the peak of the demon Arch realm, only 1 step away from the demon saint realm. The other immortal cultivator's strength was far inferior to the 2 big goblins. He was only at the mid-stage of the Tao realm. However, The two big goblins both respected this cultivator. This cultivator was immortal Xianlin, who came from the heavenly mandate Hao Tsong sect and was later subdued by Su Fang. The ancient teleportation array formation that led from the chaotic sky great world to the ancient immortal demon battlefield was destroyed by the Blood River Lord in a fit of anger. In order to return to the immortal realm, after killing the Blood River Lord in the eternal demon realm, Su Fang sent immortal Xianlin to bring powerhouses back to the chaotic sky great world. The two-peaked demon, the arch-big goblins, were subdued by Su Fang in the ancient demon realm. At this moment, they had become immortal Xuanlin's guards. Immortal Xianlin cultivated the Tao of array formations, and his attainments were quite deep. Few people in the great world could compare to him. After hundreds of years and countless materials, he finally created this teleportation array formation that was connected to the ancient teleportation array formation in the Burning Flame region. Buzz, 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 the teleportation array formation suddenly erupted. The seven-colored distorted light suddenly became intense, and then a spatial divine might shook violently. Someone has teleported over from the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons. Venerable Xianlin and the two powerful big goblins suddenly stood up from the ground and stared at the teleportation array formation without blinking. The demonic energy of the two big goblins even circled and howled around them, looking like they were about to attack at any moment. A blurry figure appeared in the formation. When the figure quickly became clear, Venerable Xianlin revealed a look of surprise. Master is back. The two big goblins quickly retracted their demonic chi and revealed respectful expressions. The cultivators outside also came in to greet Su Fang. Su Fang walked out of the array formation and looked at Venerable Xianlin. He nodded in satisfaction and said, "Xianlin, you're very good. You've made quite a contribution this time. When we reach the true dragon realm later, we will naturally reward you based on your contributions. And all of you, you will be rewarded as well." "Thank you, Master." Venerable Xianlin and the other big goblin cultivators were all overjoyed. Did something special happen in the celestial realm? Su Fang was most worried about the square heaven great world, which was why he hurriedly returned from the ancient immortal demon battlefield. Venerable Xianlin revealed a look of shame. "I placed my attention on the teleportation array formation and didn't send anyone to the chaotic sky great world to investigate." Su Fang waved his hand. "It's fine. When we reach the chaotic sky great world, we could just find the Great Star Hall and inquire about it." After sending Venerable Xianlin into the true dragon realm, the two big goblin and his other subordinates were left behind by Su Fang to continue guarding the teleportation array formation. Su Fang walked out of the hall. His figure swayed and directly escaped into the void, disappearing without a trace. When Su Fang appeared again, he was already in the sky above the supreme, holy, immortal world. The once prosperous supreme holy sect, the #1 faction in the chaotic sky great world, was personally destroyed by Su Fang because it sided with the heavenly fate Hao Tsong sect. It had long become history. Su Fang entered the world barrier, passed through the barrier, and directly arrived in the sky above the royal city of the immortal world. Just as he was about to enter the royal city and find the Great Star Hall to inquire about information, Su Fang caught a glimpse of a 10,000 feet tall painting in the sky above the royal city. Seeing the scenes that were constantly flashing in the painting, Su Fang's eyes suddenly shot out a terrifying cold light. It was as if his eyes were frozen. On the painting, in the middle of a massive magic array, tens of thousands of wooden poles hovered in the air. Every single one of the wooden poles had a human or great Yao hanging on it. Some of them had been reduced to withered corpses, having died a long time ago. Some were still alive, struggling painfully on the wooden poles. Su Fang couldn't be more familiar with those faces. Demon Venerable Barbarian God, Demon Venerable Tong Tan, Dugamujian, Old Immortal Withered Glory, Tung Ba. There were also cultivators and big goblins from the small worlds that Su Fang was very familiar with. Even the heavenly gourd spirit tree was shackled in the air. The huge heavenly gourd spirit tree was withered beyond recognition and in a dying state. In the painting, below the array formation was a great world. It was the square heaven's great world. It was a material continent formed by the fusion of the heavenly Tao, immortal world, and the former Emperor Ning's residence. Above it floated the constellation of 9 heavens and the clear sky myriad scroll door, 2 ancient relics. Around it were the 5 small worlds that Su Fong had moved from the small worlds to the great world. Su Fong had personally created the square heaven's great world, so he naturally wouldn't be mistaken. However, the square heaven's great world was obviously not in the desolate immortal domain, but in the galaxy. Su Fong couldn't determine its exact location. The square heaven's great world was obviously moved to the galaxy by someone with supreme divine powers. The square heaven's great world had an incomparably strong world barrier, and Su Fong's purple Chi Dharma spirit and the curse of the divine dragon bestowed upon it with supreme luck. There is also the barbaric god demon Venerable, who is equivalent to an ancient great demon at the peak of the high-level Tao realm. The one who attacked the square heaven's great world was at least a demigod expert, or even a god. Su Fong's mind exploded with a boom. His mind was blank, and his eyes and heart were burning with raging anger. However, Su Fong's current strength and state of mind had long reached the point where he wouldn't be shocked even if a knife was stabbed in the heart. His anger didn't drown out his rationality. Su Fong released his great perfection ability to sense. Below the image created by the divine powers, countless cultivators were pointing at the image and discussing animatedly. The Tianming Haotsong sect is really generous. They actually dragged Su Fong's square heaven's great world into the galaxy of the central immortal domain and suppressed all the experts in the square heaven's great world. The Tianming Haotsong sect was almost destroyed by Su Fong. Where did they get the confidence to attack Su Fong's square heaven's great world? Su Fong's strength may be said to be invincible in the great world, but the Tianming Haotsong sect has the gods of the divine world as their backing. How can Su Fong contend against them? Su Fong overestimated himself and tried to fight against the Tianming Haotsong sect alone. In the end, he implicated the subordinates of the entire square heaven's great world. Now that he's watching his subordinates get killed and the entire square heaven's great world is about to be destroyed, where did Su Fong go? The Tianming Haotsong sect has spread the image all over the immortal Tao world. It's impossible that Su Fong didn't see it. He must be afraid of the Tianming Haotsong sect and didn't dare to appear. He's a coward. Hearing this, Su Fong's body emitted a cold, killing intent. It really is the Tianming Haotsong sect. They must have the Mizar Divine Lord from the Seal Heaven Divine sect behind them. Very good, very good. At this moment, more than 10 cultivators flew out from the image and arrived above a wooden pole. The leading cultivator was the Tianming Haotsong sect's sect master. This person had been seriously injured by Su Fong and was on the verge of death. Now, he looked as if he had recovered. His aura was majestic, and his eyes were cold. Su Fong, the Tianming Haotsong sect master, said majestically. His gaze was like lightning, penetrating the image formed by the divine powers. All the cultivators below the image were in awe. I know you can see it, so why don't you appear? You slaughtered the cultivators of the Tianming Haotsong sect, colluded with the demons, and harmed the righteous Tao. You are not tolerated by heaven and earth. In order to make you appear, the Tianming Haotsong sect has no choice but to shackle the heaven great world. The sect master's words made all the cultivators scoff, but no one dared to make sound. I'll repeat myself. If you don't appear, the Tianming Haotsong sect will kill 1 person per day until you appear. The sect master's cold voice rolled out. 1 person per day. The Tianming Haotsong sect is so cruel. Su Fong's eyes were bloodshot, and 2 balls of fire ignited in his divine powers. The Tianming Haotsong sect master waved his hand as soon as he finished speaking. A cultivator next to him released more than 10 big goblin wings, which pounced on a cultivator shackled to the wooden pole. Su Fong was naturally very familiar with this cultivator. It was the subordinate that Su Fong had subdued when he attacked the Tranquility Emperor's residence, the withered immortal. The big goblin wings tore the withered immortal's flesh to shreds with their sharp claws. In just 5 or 6 breaths, the withered immortal was reduced to a skeleton. However, the withered immortal did not die. Although he was only a sane immortal cultivator, he cultivated the unique Tao of withered immortal. His flesh and organs were all devoured by the big goblin, but traces of blood chi still emerged from his bones, and new flesh and blood grew out. The Tianming Haotsong sect cultivator commanded the big goblin wings again, which pounced on the withered immortal and tore at him in frenzy. A moment later, the withered immortal was reduced to a skeleton again. After 5 times, the withered immortal could no longer regenerate his flesh and blood. He hung on the wooden pole with only an extremely weak breath left. 9 true 9 yang. Such a ruthless and cruel scene caused all the cultivators below the painting to be shocked, and all of them trembled. The Tianming Haotsong sect's actions are simply deranged. How can they be the leader of the righteous Tao? They're clearly the same as the devil race and the evil Tao. One of the cultivators cried out loudly in indignation. Who knew that as soon as he finished speaking? You dare to criticize the Tianming Haotsong sect? Are you Su Fong's accomplice? Suppress him. A cold voice suddenly sounded, and then a snow wyvern condensed from a cold and sharp sword intent roared out of the void, heading straight for the cultivator. Chapter 1806. The heavenly mandate Hao Tsong sect had almost been destroyed by Su Fong. Although its position as the #1 sect in the immortal Tao world was still unshakable for the time being, its influence in the immortal Tao world had plummeted and was no longer the same as before. This time, the heavenly mandate Hao Tsong sect had used the square sky world as a threat and publicly displayed the scene of the massacre to the entire immortal Tao world. On one hand, it was to force Su Fong to show himself, and, on the other hand, it was to intimidate the immortal Tao world. After witnessing withering glory old immortal being cruelly tortured by the heavenly mandate Hao Tsong sect, a cultivator couldn't help but speak out, and it immediately brought about a fatal disaster. A snow-white dragon condensed from sword intent with a cold and fierce aura was about to swallow this cultivator. This cultivator was only at the arcane immortal realm, and the sword chi released from the void was personally attacked by an immortal venerable expert. So how could he dodge it? He could only close his eyes and wait for death. Chi! A figure suddenly appeared in front of this cultivator, and the shocking snow-white sword chi disappeared without a trace when it landed on him. It was as if a bottomless abyss was hidden in this figure, and it completely devoured the terrifying attack. This cultivator was lucky enough to survive, and he couldn't help but be surprised and shocked. The person who attacked was naturally Su Fong. With his current strength, how could an attack at the immortal venerable level possibly injure him? He released a bit of the divine might of the world in his body, and the attack was absorbed into his internal world and completely dissolved. Get out here! Su Fong looked at the void, and fire clouds ignited in his eyes. Fire shot out and landed in the void, and it exploded with a bang, igniting a shocking flame. After a blood-curdling scream, a flaming figure staggered out of the void. Su Fong grabbed at the air with his right hand, and the figure flew in front of Su Fong. Seeing this person's face clearly, he was Feng Wuxi's master, the heavenly mandate Hao Tsong sect's Chi Sword Immortal Venerable. I'm the sect master of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsong sect. How dare you? Su Fong. Ah, you're Su Fong. The Chi Sword Immortal Venerable was injured by Su Fong's heaven-burning eye. At first, he was still incomparably arrogant. However, when he recognized Su Fong, he was immediately filled with terror, as if he had seen a living ghost in broad daylight. Su Fong. He is Su Fong. Hearing Chi Sword Immortal Venerable's words, the cultivators in the sky fled like a tide. Only the cultivator who was saved by Su Fong remained where he was, staring at Su Fong, dumbfounded, as if he had been scared out of his wits. I'm just following orders. Spare my life. Chi Sword Immortal Venerable knew what would happen if he fell into Su Fong's hands. so he didn't care about his face and loudly begged Su Fong for mercy. Has the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang's sect ever spared my subordinates? Su Fong looked up at the divine ability painting scroll and spoke with a voice as cold as the winter wind. The flames enveloping Qi Sword Immortal Venerable suddenly burned fiercely, incinerating Qi Sword Immortal Venerable into ashes. Su Fong said to the frightened cultivator, "Are you willing to cultivate in my spatial magic treasure?" "Yes, I'm very willing." The cultivator's brain was like a chicken pecking at rice. This cultivator was just a wandering cultivator with mediocre talent and no backing. This time, he was actually able to cultivate in Su Fong's spatial magic treasure just because he spoke out of righteousness. This kind of good thing was like being hit by a divine weapon that fell from the sky. When the cultivators in the distance saw this, they couldn't help but be envious. Of course, there were also people who thought that Su Fong would be suppressed by the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect sooner or later, and that following him was a dead end. Su Fong put the cultivator into the true dragon realm and handed it over to Xian Yintian. Su Fong glanced at the painting formed by the divine ability. Just as he was about to destroy it suddenly, buzz, 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 the Tao runes of the heavenly secret death taking art stirred in his mind. Then, Su Fong used the heavenly secret unravel mystery to sense that there seemed to be a pair of eyes spying on him from the void. Su Fong knew that the 81 Taoist temples of the heavenly mandate, Hao Tsang sect, formed a supreme formation called the Heavenly Net Formation. Activating the Heavenly Net Formation could draw on the power of the Heavenly Tao, and through the divine might of the Heavenly Net Formation, it could cover most of the immortal Tao world. At this moment, the pair of eyes in the void that resembled the heavenly Tao belonged to the experts of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect who were using the heavenly net formation to spy on Su Fong. Clearly, the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect was alerted by the death of Qi Sword Immortal Venerable. Su Fong, you've really appeared. In the image formed by the Abhijna, the sect master of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect looked outside the image. His eyes were sharp and filled with hatred and killing intent. With the help of the formation that shackled the square heaven great world and the divine might of the heavenly net formation, he transmitted his voice from the void. The heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect and the force behind the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect in the God world, the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect, I will destroy them with my own hands. As for you, I will turn you into ashes. Su Fong's voice was filled with murderous intent and dominance. You're like a coward who only dares to show yourself after hiding for so long. You even dare to say that you'll destroy the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect? As for the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect, killing you is as easy as crushing an ant. How dare you say such arrogant words? How shameless! The patriarch of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect laughed loudly. The cultivators of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect also laughed wantonly with him. The cultivators of the square heaven great world and the big goblin who were shackled to the wooden poles clearly heard Su Fong's voice through the formation. They were all excited at first, but soon became extremely anxious. They were afraid that Su Fong would fall into the trap of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect. Su Fong, using the square heaven great world to force you to show yourself, has nothing to do with the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect. It's purely the idea of the first supreme elder and myself. Naturally, I'm confident that I can kill you by doing this. Are you here to die, or are you going to watch as I kill your subordinates one by one? In the past 30 years, in order to force you to show yourself, I've killed one person a day. I've killed a total of 11,728 people. There's still many of your former subordinates in the square heaven great world. They're enough for me to kill for hundreds of years. Ha ha. The patriarch of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect laughed wantonly and arrogantly. How many of my subordinates have the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect killed? I'll pay them back tenfold. Today, I'll start with you. Su Fong's voice was filled with killing intent. The patriarch sneered disdainfully. I'm right here. Why don't you come and kill me? I'm afraid you don't have the guts. Su Fong said indifferently. Of course I'll come, and meet the Mizar Divine Lord of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect. However, why would I need to wait until then to kill an ant-like existence like you? The patriarch sneered. I like to see how you're going to kill me. Suddenly, Su Fong looked up at the sky. His eyes flickered with an ethereal divine light. The divine light of the patriarch in the picture changed instantly. A strand of his consciousness made use of the power of the formation to appear in the chaotic sky great world across countless immortal domains and talk to Su Fong. At this moment, he actually felt that this strand of consciousness was locked onto by Su Fong's eyes. Not only that, but he also felt like a pair of invisible eyes were staring at him, giving him a terrifying feeling that there was nowhere to hide in this vast world. You're the first patriarch of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect. Su Fong activated the thunder of destiny. The strand of consciousness that the patriarch of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect had fused with the power of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect's formation. The patriarch of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect in the picture sneered. Your divine ability is indeed extraordinary. You've only destroyed a strand of my consciousness. What can you do to me? Su Fong's hair instantly turned white. He looked coldly at the patriarch in the picture as if he was looking at a dead man. Boom! The patriarch of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect suddenly trembled as if he had been struck by lightning. Then his physical body shattered layer by layer and turned into green smoke. At the same time, his blood chi, true chi, and nascent spirit in his body frantically flowed into the world. In the blink of an eye, the patriarch of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect, who had been insufferably arrogant just a moment ago, completely turned into ashes. A gust of wind blew, and he disappeared from the world. This scene, not only the cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect beside the patriarch, but also Su Fong's subordinates who were shackled, as well as countless cultivators in the immortal domains who were separated by endless space. All of them saw this scene clearly through the picture. Everyone was dumbfounded and fell into a state of intense shock. Then, the fear of Su Fong uncontrollably surged in their hearts. The cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect were scared out of their wits and fled one after another. Two of them were so shaken that they couldn't fly and fell to the ground. The patriarch of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect wasn't the only one paying attention to Su Fong through the Great Empyrean Formation. The patriarch of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect and Lord Mizar of the Heavenly Mandate Divine sect were so shocked that they immediately withdrew their consciousnesses. Whoosh! Su Fong entered the void and disappeared without a trace. It took a long time for people to recover from their shock. Then, they were surprised to find that no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't remember what had just happened. 9 truths and 9 suns, whether it was the lowest level immortals or those in the Tao realm. It was as if an invisible hand had forcibly erased the scene of Su Fong killing the patriarch of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect from their memories. It was as if nothing had happened just now. That wasn't all. Even the patriarch of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect seemed to have never existed in their memories. Everything about him had been forcibly erased from the world by the thunder of destiny with incomparable tyranny, leaving no trace behind. It wasn't just the cultivators of the great world. Even Lord Mizar and the 3 brothers of the Liao family from the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect only vaguely remembered that Su Fong had used a supreme divine ability to kill an important figure of the Heavenly Mandate How Tsang sect from a great distance. As for who this important figure was, it was difficult for them to recall. What kind of divine ability is this? How could it forcibly kill a cultivator and even erase everything in his karmic fate? Lord Mizar vaguely sensed some clues and couldn't help but be extremely shocked. He couldn't help but feel a trace of fear towards Su Fong. Chapter 1807. After receiving the order from the Mizar Divine Lord, the first Supreme Elder of the Tianming How Tsang sect, who was hidden in the depths of the galaxy, had no choice but to show himself. He came to the sky above the square heaven great world and sat down cross-legged in the air. Su Fong. Thinking of Su Fong, the first Supreme Elder could not help but feel a wave of fear, followed by a strong, killing intent. I wonder if the three deities sent by the Divine Lord have the confidence to kill Su Fong. If they fail again, thinking of the consequences of failure again, the first Supreme Elder could not help but shudder. Suddenly, a sharp voice came from the void and rang in the first Supreme Elder's ears. What are you afraid of? Do you doubt that the three of us can't kill a low-level existence from a great world? The first Supreme Elder recognized the owner of the voice. It was the eldest of the three deities. He could not help but tremble. How would I dare? The eldest of the three Liao brothers said proudly, "The three of us have traversed several divine realms, killing and robbing, and are famous. If we had not accidentally killed a disciple of the Sealing Heaven Divine Path and were suppressed by the experts of the Sealing Heaven Divine Path, how would we have fallen to the point of working for the Mizar Divine Path in the Great World? If we can't even kill a cultivator from a great world, we might as well find a piece of tofu and kill ourselves." Eldest Liao scoffed at Su Fong. The three of them were originally bandits of the divine world. Although their strength was not particularly high, they cultivated the rare way of the bow and arrow. Moreover, the three of them were telepathic. When they worked together, their strength multiplied, and they killed strong enemies many times. How could such vicious and merciless bandits take the cultivators of the great world seriously? Su Fong is about to arrive. Before he enters the joint attack range of the three of us, if you reveal anything and scare him away, the first person I will kill will be you. Eldest Liao threatened the first Supreme Elder again. He was completely treating Su Fong as the fish and the square heaven great world as the bait. Now, he was just waiting for the fish to take the bait. I will be careful. Seeing eldest Liao speak so confidently, the first Supreme Elder was immediately filled with confidence. Evil Punisher truly deserves to die. If he shackles Su Fong's father and clansmen, then even if Su Fong comes, she can use this as a hostage. Who would have thought that Zhu Xie's whereabouts are unknown? Su Fong's father and clansmen were also taken away by Su Fong. Thinking about how he was unable to capture Su Fong's father and clansmen, First Supreme Elder felt a wave of regret. If he had known this would happen, he would have personally taken action. Looking at the cultivators and Big Goblin under Su Fong who were shackled to the wooden pole, First Supreme Elder's eyes were cold. He coldly shouted, "Go, kill 10 more people. Let the entire immortal Tao world see it. Tomorrow, kill 100 people. The day after tomorrow, kill 1,000, and so on." Immediately, 10 cultivators from the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect leaped into the air and used their flying swords to kill the 10 cultivators from the square heaven world. Their corpses remained hanging from the wooden poles. First Supreme Elder revealed a sinister smile. "Su Fong, I've killed your subordinates and messed up your Tao heart. I'm just waiting for you to throw yourself into the fire like a moth." 3 days later, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Numerous figures broke through the air and appeared in the sky above the square heaven world. The two leading them were 2 young cultivators. They were Dao Hengtian and Star-Herding Peak. Behind them were over 10,000 cultivators of varying cultivation levels, ranging from arcane immortal to Dao realm experts. First Supreme Elder raised his white eyebrows. "Dao Hengtian, didn't you go to the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons to train? When did you return?" Dao Hengtian cupped his fists and bowed. "Not long after I returned from the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons, I happened to encounter Star-Herding Peak and many cultivators from the Sky Spill Immortal World and Cloud Dream Immortal World. I learned that the sect threatened Su Fong with the Square Heaven World and publicly killed people. Such cruelty and inhumanity has caused the sect to fall into the demon Tao. Therefore, I've specially come to advise First Supreme Elder." It turned out that Dao Hengtian had almost fallen into the hands of the Dark World's Lord at the Kunwu Immortal Mountain. Fortunately, he had met Su Fong by chance. Otherwise, his consciousness would have been taken over by Yi Mei, and he would have become her puppet. After receiving Su Fong's warning, Dao Hengtian had immediately left the Kunwu Immortal Mountain. After waiting outside for a few years, he had returned to the immortal domain when Su Fong did not appear. First Supreme Elder said coldly, Are you teaching me a lesson? Dao Hongtian's expression was calm and without fear. Our sect's actions are not far from destruction. Please reconsider, First Supreme Elder. First Supreme Elder smiled coldly and looked at Star-Herding Peak. You're immortal Elder Tianji's disciple, right? What do you intend to do by bringing people here? Star-Herding Peak cupped his fists and said, First Supreme Elder, please spare the Square Heaven World's cultivators on account of Su Fang's efforts in the Great War of Immortals and Demons, saving the immortal Dao world. The cultivators behind Star-Herding Peak cupped their fists and said, Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect, please spare the Square Heaven World's cultivators. First Supreme Elder sneered disdainfully. When Immortal Elder Tianji was still alive, I didn't think much of him. Now that he's dead, a disciple of his sect dares to interfere with my matters? It seems that you have an unusual relationship with Su Fang. Suppress them all and use them to bait Su Fang. Boom! First Supreme Elder released a burst of divine might. Like the heavenly Dao, it enveloped the entire area and shackled Dao Hongtian, Star-Herding Peak, and the other cultivators. Stripped Dao Hongtian of his Dao disciple status and sent him back to the sect to be locked up. All the other cultivators are shackled. Today, we'll kill 1,000 people starting with them. Immortal Elder Tianji's disciple will be the first. First Supreme Elder issued a decree filled with murderous intent. Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect is completely finished. Dao Hongtian sighed. Star-Herding Peak curled his lips and revealed a disdainful sneer. Suddenly, First Supreme Elder's divine light changed. Then, the galaxy shook. No one knew what had happened to cause such a huge commotion. First Supreme Elder leaped into the sky and looked toward Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect. Oh no, Su Fang is attacking Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect and shaking the sect's world origin. 3 days ago, Su Fang was still in chaotic sky, great world. Why is he in Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect now? He's so fast. The First Supreme Elder let out a roar filled with shock and anger. Kill! Kill everyone in Square Sky, Great World. In a frenzied state, First Supreme Elder issued a murderous order to the cultivators of Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect. Then, his figure flashed and disappeared into the void. Whoosh! 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 3 black-robed men flashed out from the depths of the galaxy. They were the 3 Liao brothers who had been lying in ambush. They hid in the galaxy and waited for Su Fang to take the bait. Then, they would surprise Su Fang and give him a fatal blow. However, Su Fang did not take the bait. Instead, he attacked Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect's lair. Naturally, the ambush against Su Fang was ineffective. He's making me run again. When I catch this kid, I'll skin him alive. First Supreme Elder Liao snorted inexplicably and left with his 2 younger brothers. High in the sky, Mizar Divine Lord's figure appeared in a nebula. Su Fang is not stupid, but this way, we can use the Tianuo Great Formation to suppress him. Even if we can't suppress him, we can consume his strength, and the Liao brothers will have a better chance of killing him. Mizar Divine Lord's eyes were filled with pride. Then, he slowly disappeared into the void. Kill them all. One of the Grand Supreme Elders of Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect who stayed behind shouted. This person had a hooked nose and sharp eyes. He was Dao Master Yong, who was almost suppressed by Su Fang in the Sky Evolution Immortal World. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Thousands of Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect cultivators charged toward the wooden pole floating in the sky. There were also more than 30,000 experts who charged toward the Square Heaven Great World with a murderous aura. They planned to kill all the cultivators in the Square Heaven Great World. A bunch of idiots. Since Su Fang is attacking Heaven's Mandate Haotsong Sect, how can he leave the Square Heaven Great World alone? Mu Xingfeng mocked and ridiculed. Boom! A strange power that was a mixture of immortal and demon exploded from Mu Xingfeng's body. The shackles left by First Supreme Elder were immediately shattered by this majestic power. Swoosh! A black-robed figure came out from Mu Xingfeng's body. This person looked exactly like Su Fang. However, his aura was extremely cold. His eyes were as deep as the sky, and his aura was completely different from Su Fang's. He was the immortal demon monster that resided in his second primordial spirit. It turned out that Su Fang had already predicted that Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect would ambush him. He used the Square Heaven Great World as bait and waited for him to take the bait. Su Fang was in the burning flame domain of the ancient immortal and demon battlefield. Marquis V had already recovered the life force he had expended in the battle to the death. However, his inner world had almost collapsed and would not be able to recover in a short time. Under such circumstances, how could Su Fang jump into the trap despite knowing it was a trap? Coincidentally, he met Dao Hung Tian, Mu Xing Feng, and many cultivators from the Sky Spill Immortal World and Cloud Dream Heaven. Su Fang had saved the Sky Spill Immortal World and set up a monument for the cultivators who died in the Immortal and Demon War in Cloud Dream Heaven. Therefore, the cultivators of the Sky Spill Immortal World and some of the descendants of the cultivators who died in Cloud Dream Heaven were deeply grateful to Su Fang. They had originally planned to rescue the Square Heaven Great World. Although they knew they would die, they still came without hesitation. After meeting them, Su Fang thought for a while and decided on this plan. He had Mu Xing Feng bring the immortal and demon monster to the Square Heaven Great World and wait for an opportunity to rescue his subordinates. Su Fang's true body went straight to the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect. On one hand, he wanted to lure away the powerful cultivators of the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect and create an opportunity for the immortal and demon monster. On the other hand, Su Fang wanted to devour the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect's world origin to restore his inner world. As Su Fang expected, the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect fell for the trap, and all their god-level cultivators were lured away. Yang Dao Master had originally come straight to Mu Xing Feng to take the Heaven's Mandate solution from him. When the immortal and demon monster appeared, Yang Dao Master thought it was Su Fang's true body. He was scared out of his wits and turned to flee. The immortal and demon monster took out a demonic saber and slashed. Yang Dao Master and thousands of Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect cultivators were swallowed by the terrifying saber shadow and died on the spot. Kill them all. Chapter 1808. The second primordial spirit's current power was enough to crush an ordinary god-tier expert. The immortal demon monster's physical body was also very shocking. After fusing with the bodies of the 5 demon god war slaves and a crystal formed from the blood chi of the primordial carnivorous demon in the demon birth abyss, its physical body had already surpassed the peak of the Tao realm and reached the height of a demigod. Together with the god-tier demonic weapon, the immortal demon monster's current strength could easily crush an ordinary god-tier expert. In order to save the Square Heaven Great World, Su Fang handed over the true dragon world to the immortal demon monster to control. He also brought over the 2 demon sages that he had subdued in the ancient demon world. The cultivators of the Tianming Haotsong sect left in the galaxy were at the peak of the advanced Tao realm. How could they not be crushed? The Tianming Haotsong sect used the Square Heaven Great World as a hostage and ruthlessly killed the cultivators of the Square Heaven Great World. This aroused Su Fang's killing intent, and he ordered the second primordial spirit not to leave a single one alive. As the second primordial spirit's murderous voice fell, Su Fang's subordinates pounced on a flock of sheep like a pack of ferocious tigers. The Tianming Haotsong sect cultivators, who were usually awe-inspiring and insufferably arrogant, resisted symbolically for a while before they were completely collapsed. Then, they were completely reduced to pigs and sheep that were about to be slaughtered. Their shrill screams before their deaths resounded through the sky. Blood dyed the galaxy red, and mutilated corpses floated everywhere. Surrender, surrender, surrender. I'm willing to surrender to Su Fangda. Some Tianming Haotsong sect cultivators lost their will to fight and knelt down to surrender to Su Fang's subordinates. It's too late to beg for mercy now. Don't leave a single one alive. Kill them all. What greeted the Tianming Haotsong sect cultivators was the most ruthless and fierce attack. When Su Fang's subordinates saw the square heaven great world's cultivators being tortured like this, especially the big goblin like the Vermilion Emperor and the Wooling Goblin, their eyes turned red with killing intent. They hated these heaven-destined Hao Tsang sect cultivators to the core. How could they give them a chance to surrender? In less than half an hour, all the cultivators of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect who were left in the galaxy were killed or devoured by the great demons under Su Fang's command, leaving no survivors. Starhorder Peak and the cultivators he brought did not even have a chance to make a move. Su Fang's subordinates wiped out the cultivators of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. They could not help but be dumbfounded. Strong. Su Fang's subordinates were too strong. Master is mighty. More than half of the square heaven great world's cultivators and big goblin who were shackled in the air were still alive. They cheered in unison and were extremely excited. Even the shackled, heavenly gourd spirit tree struggled and shook its huge body, appearing unusually excited. Some of the cultivators and big goblin who were rescued immediately relaxed and fainted immediately. Below, in the square heaven great world, seeing the scene in the galaxy, all the cultivators and big goblin cheered loudly. The voices of countless people gathered together and shook the galaxy. In order to force Su Fang to appear and intimidate the immortal Tao world, the Tianming Hao Tsang sect transmitted the image of the square heaven great world and the sky to more than half of the immortal Tao world. The scene of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect cultivators being slaughtered was a free show for the immortal Tao world through the Tianming Hao Tsang sect's Abhijna and Array formation. All the cultivators who saw this scene were extremely shocked by the powerful overall strength displayed by Su Fang. The Tianming Hao Tsang sect is finished. The immortal Tao world is going to change. Amidst the intense shock, the same thought emerged in every cultivator's mind. The Tianming Hao Tsang sect. With Su Fang's arrival, the apocalypse also descended on the Tianming Hao Tsang sect. Su Fang activated the Ethereal Enlightenment's Ethereal Enlightenment Abhijna and shook the world origin sealed in the depths of the Tianming celestial land. Streaks of starlight broke through the world seal and broke out from the depths of the Tianming celestial land, gathering around Su Fang. The starlight condensed into bright stars and turned into a deep and vast galaxy. The stars weren't real stars, of course, but the essence of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect's Abhijna's Abhijna, forming a magnificent scene. This scene made people involuntarily feel reverence towards the heavenly Tao in nature. It was simply too shocking. The 81 dojos of the heavenly fate Hao Tsang sect were all shaken. The power of the world shook violently, causing the surrounding galaxies to tremble and boil. Su Fang unceremoniously devoured the world origin of the heaven's mandate Hao Tsang sect. The stars formed by the world origin shattered one by one, turning into starlight that whizzed around Su Fang. From a distance, it looked like Su Fang was controlling a river of stars. The starlight seeped into Su Fang's inner world and was madly absorbed by the world tree. The world tree exuded a deep and extremely dazzling halo, as if another galaxy had appeared. The world tree converted the absorbed world force into world force of yin and yang, and then replenished Su Fang's inner world, quickly restoring the inner world's previous consumption. While madly devouring the world's origin, Su Fang also burned his magic power to fuse with and control the world's origin. In less than the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Su Fang's eyes flickered with the luster of stars. It was as if there was a vast galaxy hidden in his eyes. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The cultivators of the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect woke up from their initial shock and charged toward Su Fang. If they allowed Su Fang to fuse with the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect's world origin, it meant that the sect would fall into Su Fang's control. How could these cultivators not fight with their lives on the line? Su Fang. It's actually Su Fang who's shaking the world's origin. Su Fang is back. What divine ability did he use to shake the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect's world origin? When the cultivators of the heavens mandate how Tsang Sek saw Su Fong in the galaxy formed by the world's origin, they were all shocked and terrified. To the cultivators of the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect, Su Fong was their nightmare. This is the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect. Are we going to let him seize the world's origin? Stop him. It won't be long before the Grand Supreme Elder comes back. Don't forget that the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect is backed by a powerful deity from the myriad worlds. With the support of deity, why should we be afraid of Su Fong? The cultivators of the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect no longer hesitated. They activated their powerful divine abilities or Tao artifacts and charged towards Su Fong. Su Fong looked coldly at these cultivators. When he thought of his subordinates from the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect who had been brutally killed and tortured by the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect, his deep eyes flashed with fierce, killing intent. Gue Gue Go. Su Fong released Gue Gue. Gue Gue was dressed in black clothes, stained with dark red blood. He looked somewhat similar to Su Fong, but no longer looked like a monster. He had an evil aura and a ruthless gaze. Was he fighting you? When Marquis V fought, Gue Gue's poison could not be used because he was facing a resurrected expert. Now was the time to use it. Kiki, all of you die. An evil voice came from Gue Gue's mouth. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out a puff of poisonous smoke. Su Fong activated the divine power of the world and helped Gue Gue disperse the poisonous smoke in all directions. It covered 1,000 miles of the void and did not disperse, forming a poisonous world. Gue Gue's poison could kill a deity, let alone these cultivators of the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect. The poisonous smoke seeped into the skin of the 10,000 cultivators of the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect who charged towards Su Fong. Immediately, sizzling sounds came from their bodies. First, it was the aura defense, then the flesh fetus divine armor, and then their physical bodies. Layer by layer, they were corroded and quickly turned into blood. Only Tao realm experts were able to activate their true qi to defend themselves and quickly escape from the area covered by the poisonous smoke. Gue Gue let out an evil grin and pounced forward like a black bolt of lightning. At the same time, his physical body shattered and he transformed into a pool of blood. Like a venomous dragon, he devoured the cultivators of the celestial bright star sect. Even the high-level Tao realm experts couldn't escape his suppression. The number of heaven's mandate how Tsang Sect cultivators who charged out of the 81 dojos was uncountable. Seeing the miserable state these cultivators were in, they no longer dared to step into the poisonous smoke. They could only watch as Su Fong fused with the heaven's mandate how Tsang Sect's world origin. Once Su Fong completely fused with the world origin, all the cultivators who used the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect's world origin would not only lose their overall strength, but they would also be affected and controlled by Su Fong. They would only be waiting for death. All the cultivators of the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect were like ants on a hot pan. There was nothing they could do to stop Su Fong. Su Fong, this seat will kill you. The first Supreme Elder's furious roar was heard. Then his figure flashed out of the void. Seeing Su Fong fusing with the world origin, the first Supreme Elder spat out a mouthful of blood that was filled with life essence. In a fit of shock and anger, the first Supreme Elder spat out a mouthful of heart blood. In the battle at the sky's sacred ground, the first Supreme Elder had been seriously injured and had almost died. The Mizar Divine Lord had come to the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect and given him a supreme God-level elixir. Only then was he able to quickly suppress his injuries and recover to his peak state with a restrictive spell. After spitting out a mouthful of blood from his heart, the first Supreme Elder's injuries could not be contained. His aura suddenly withered to the extreme, and he swayed in the air, like a flame swept by a fierce wind, about to be extinguished at any time. Since you want to kill me, why don't you come forward? Su Fong sneered disdainfully. The first Supreme Elder did not dare to enter the range of Gue Gue's poisonous domain. He glared at Su Fong with flames of anger in his eyes. You used the heavens mandate how Tsang Sect as a threat and openly killed my subordinates. Did you think this day would come? Not only will I devour the heavens mandate how Tsong sect's world origin, but I will also destroy the heavens mandate how Tsong sect with my own hands. As for you, at this point, Su Fong smiled cruelly. As for you, the first supreme elder of the heavens mandate how Tsong sect, I will shackle you and let you live well. I will hang you in the sky of the heavens mandate how Tsong sect and show you to the public for 1,000,000 years. What a vicious and merciless Su Fong. First Supreme Elder's heart trembled in fear. Chapter 1809. Are you talking about the three gods behind you? Since they're here, why are they hiding and not daring to show themselves? And the Mizar Divine Lord, why is he nowhere to be seen? Su Fong raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a mocking and disdainful expression. With Su Fong's current strength, coupled with his great perfection ability and the life-shrinking technique, how could he not sense the three Liao brothers hiding in the void? With three gods appearing at once, and the Mizar Divine Lord still not showing himself, Su Fong looked very disdainful on the surface, but he was actually very vigilant in his heart. While devouring the world origin of the heavenly mandate Hao Tsong sect, he activated his great perfection ability and the life-shrinking technique to prepare for the upcoming battle. To be able to discover the existence of my brothers, you're quite extraordinary, you ant. But it's more interesting to kill you like this. I'll cut off the head of a peerless genius of your world and make it into a decoration to hang in my cave residence. Boss Liao's arrogant and incomparably cold voice suddenly sounded. Swish! A dark arrow darted over from 100,000 miles away. This arrow had black arrow feathers, and a mysterious divine pattern mark flashed on the arrow shaft, exuding the aura of spatial laws. The arrow was unbelievably fast. Su Fong's great perfection ability had just captured its existence when it appeared in front of Su Fong in an instant, with a terrifying aura that could pierce through heaven and earth, about to pierce Su Fong's heart. Puff! Su Fong had no time to operate his vital qi, activate his Dao weapon, or inner world before the arrow shot into his body. Fortunately, Su Fong's Kunwu true body automatically erupted with power at the moment of great danger. A thick and majestic power quickly filled every corner of his body, causing his body to become as hard as rock in an instant. At the same time, the earth element power quickly condensed a layer of tough defense on the surface of his body. In addition, there was a thick and heavy force like the earth, which caused the arrow to sink slightly. Chi! The arrow almost missed Su Fong's heart. It pierced through Su Fong's heart and came out from his back, causing blood to spurt out. Only then did the arrow run out of energy and disappear into nothingness. This arrow, it pierced through Su Fong's flesh, fetus divine armor, earth elemental defense, and the blood vessels of the Black Lotus true body. One could only imagine how astonishing the penetrative power of this arrow was. If it wasn't for the Kunwu real body, Su Fong's heart would be pierced by this arrow. Even if he didn't die, his vitality would be greatly damaged, and it would be very difficult for him to recover his physical body in a short time. The arrow's damage was not limited to that. Chi! The arrow left a tyrannical and sharp arrow light in Su Fong's body, wantonly destroying his flesh, blood, meridians, and bones. What a terrifying arrow! Su Fong was aghast and shocked. He immediately activated the power of yin and yang to suppress and wear down the power of the arrow. At the same time, he activated his Black Lotus true body, blood transformation true body, and dragon subduing true body to quickly recover from the arrows and the arrow lights left in his body. In the time of 3 breaths, Su Fong's injuries were completely healed. However, Su Fong did not heal the wounds on his body. He looked like he was seriously injured. Integrate with the heavens mandate Hao Tsong sect's world origin as soon as possible. Su Fong frantically activated the world tree to devour the heavens mandate Hao Tsong sect's world origin. He also called Gue to his side and absorbed her into his body. Su Fong, let's see how long you can be arrogant under the divine arrow of a god realm expert. Seeing that Su Fong was seriously injured, the first Supreme Elder was very proud and laughed loudly. Liao Lao broke through the air from 100,000 miles away and said in surprise, "He can actually take an arrow from me. This kid is really something. No wonder he can even kill a god from a celestial world." "Lao Lao, you haven't killed anyone for a long time. Why are your hands so soft? You can't even kill an ant from a celestial world." The second brother of the Liao family's three brothers spoke in a gloomy voice from the void and appeared 100,000 miles to the southeast. After that, Liao Lao put his palms together and then suddenly separated them. Chi, chi, chi. Then arrows broke through the air. Some of the arrows fell from the sky like meteors, some shot from under Su Fang's feet, and countless green arrow shadows suddenly shot from Su Fang's surroundings. In an instant, Su Fang was surrounded by a rain of arrows and was about to be torn to pieces. "Want to kill me, Su Fang? It's not that easy." Su Fang was injured by Liao Lao's first arrow and was already on high alert. How could he let Liao Lao have his way again? Kunwa true body. A majestic and heavy gravitational force caused the countless arrows to abruptly sink and deviate slightly from their course. Fire Cloud Emperor Physique. Su Fang activated the Fire Cloud Emperor Physique and, at the same time, released the Nine Suns, Celestial Fire. The fire elemental divine power swept out and burned the arrows to ashes. Then, Su Fang used the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang Sek's world origin to unleash his world divine might, creating a barrier around him that blocked all of the arrows. However, Su Fang seemed to have exhausted all his strength. His injuries worsened, and blood gushed out from his wounds like a fountain. He seemed to be on the verge of collapse and could not hold on for much longer. Su Fang gritted his teeth and abandoned the world's origin. It turned back into starlight and flew into the depths of the celestial land of destiny. Su Fang unleashed the wings of Fire Cloud. Like a seven-colored divine phoenix spreading its wings, he drew a trail of flames in the air and fled into the distance. However, it was obvious that his injuries were not light. He was swaying as if he would fall at any moment. "This person is already an arrow at the end of its flight. Capture him alive." Boss Liao shouted coldly. "First brother, second brother, the merit of capturing this brat alive belongs to me." A blurry figure emerged from the void. He let out a smug grin and pounced straight at Su Fang. This person was like a strange shadow. It was almost impossible to see his figure. He was as fast as the wind. In the blink of an eye, he was 1,000 miles away from Su Fang. Then he flicked his finger and shot out a black arrow. Whoosh! The arrow drew a strange arc in the air and appeared behind Su Fang in the blink of an eye. This was not an arrow. It was clearly a black venomous snake. It was 10 feet long and had a pair of cicada-like wings. It had sharp and ferocious fangs. Buzz, the venomous snake's wings flapped fiercely as its body slithered. Like a bolt of black lightning, it penetrated the fire cloud around Su Fang and shot into the middle of Su Fang's back. Its teeth bit into Su Fang's flesh and blood, and the poison quickly seeped into his body. The fire cloud wings behind Su Fang suddenly collapsed. His body turned black, and black blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. His body was on the verge of collapse, and it was difficult for him to maintain his flying state. Even the realm lord of a small realm in the god realm would lose a layer of skin after being hit by my shadow snake arrow. How can a cultivator from a large realm like you not die? The shadow appeared beside Su Fang and quickly became real. It was the third brother of the Liao brothers. In the distance, the first and second brothers of the Liao family walked out of the void. They looked at Su Fang, who had been suppressed from afar, and sneered disdainfully. They didn't expect to capture Su Fang so easily. "Let's see how you die this time." First Supreme Elder couldn't help but laugh loudly. "I like to see people howling in pain after being hit by the shadow snake arrow. Unfortunately, someone wants to capture you alive." Third brother Liao grinned and raised his hand to recall the venomous snake biting Su Fang's back. Who knew that the venomous snake would struggle crazily to leave Su Fang's body and firmly stick to Su Fang's back, unable to break free. Furthermore, the venomous snake's body rapidly shriveled up. Its venom and blood were completely devoured. In the end, it turned into a piece of snake skin. Third brother Liao looked at Su Fong in disbelief. You're not afraid of my shadow, arrow snake's poison, idiot. Su Fong smiled coldly. Gui's devouring ability was invincible. The more poisonous it was, the more he liked it. This shadow arrow snake's poison was indeed very powerful, even more so than Gui's. However, in addition to devouring and dissolving poison, Gui also had the yellow spring blood sea's ability to devour blood. In the blink of an eye, the venom and blood of the shadow arrow snake were all devoured, and then the venom was slowly digested in Su Fong's body. Not good. Third brother Liao realized that something was wrong and turned around to escape into the void. Su Fong pretended to be seriously injured and didn't hesitate to be bitten by the venomous snake. His purpose was to lead Gui closer. So how could he let him escape so easily? Boom! Su Fong urged his inner world and blasted out a punch. A terrifying aura of the operation of the heavenly Tao and the flow of the galaxy slammed into the void, causing the space to tremble and shatter. Third brother Liao, who had just escaped into the void, staggered and spat out a mouthful of blood. Suppress. The inner world's divine power instantly covered third brother Liao. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, lightning, and 6 natural energies roared, and the heavenly Tao operated. The terrifying power of the world hit third brother Liao's body. Third brother Liao spat out blood again and again. His body was shattered layer by layer, and he soon fell into a seriously injured state. Su Fong withdrew his inner world's divine power and flashed to third brother Liao's side. He reached out and pressed his hand on third brother Liao's head. He only needed to use his mind to urge his power to blast his head into pieces. Such an amazing reversal stunned the 2 brothers of the Liao family, who were watching a good show in the distance. Immediately, the Liao brothers roared, "How dare you hurt third brother Liao? I will turn you into ashes." Do you think I dare? Su Fong showed a cold smile and slightly urged his sword chi to penetrate third brother Liao's head from the top of his head. Third brother Liao screamed as blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. The 2 brothers of the Liao family were shocked and angry. They were indeed the bandits of the myriad worlds. Their brother fell into the hands of the enemy, but they had no scruples and still desperately rushed towards Su Fong. Aren't you afraid that I will kill him? Su Fong frowned. He was also surprised by the Liao brothers' ruthlessness. Third brother Liao grinned. How can we, the Liao brothers, be easily controlled by others? I have fallen into your hands. If you dare to kill me, they will naturally pull out your tendons and skin you alive to avenge me. You want to use me to threaten them? Dream on. It seems that you're not very useful, but you are not completely useless. At least you can be used as a cultivation material to break through to the true God realm. Chapter 1810. Shameless brat. How dare you shackle my brother? I'll skin you alive. Boss Liao saw that Su Fong didn't look like he was seriously injured at all. He was clearly luring Liao Laosan to take the bait just now. 8%, 8%, book, asterisk oin his fury. Boss Liao took out a big bow and used his divine power. His right palm swept across the bowstring, and his 5 fingers played a wonderful rhythm and pattern on the bowstring, containing the supreme law of the great Tao. Due to the restrictions of the great Tao of the great world, it was difficult for the deities from the great Tao of the great world to extract the essence of nature and borrow the power of the stars to display the supreme divine power. However, there were exceptions. Deities could use divine tools to communicate with nature and release powerful divine power. Of course, the price of using divine tools was not small. It would consume magic power and divine power. Just like the immortals in the small world, there was no energy that deities could absorb in the great world. Every bit of energy that deities wasted in the great world would be lost, and they couldn't recover it in the great world. Moreover, due to the great power of divine tools, they would also be restricted by the great Tao of the great world. At most, they could only use 70 to 80% of their power. If Su Fong hadn't shackled Liao Laosan and aroused Boss Liao's crazy killing intent, he wouldn't have used the divine tool so easily. Buzz, 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 the bowstring vibrated violently, and the great Tao seemed to be resonating with the vibration of the bowstring. The natural power of heaven and earth quickly condensed into arrows in the sky. There were flaming arrows, lightning arrows, and sharp metal arrows. These arrows appeared in the sky, and there were no less than 100,000 of them. They gathered into a huge black mass, covering the sky and the sun. The most terrifying thing was that these arrows condensed from the energy of heaven and earth weren't disorderly, but arranged in a strange and mysterious way, containing the great Tao of the great Tao. The power of each arrow wasn't very strong, but when the power of 100,000 arrows gathered together, the power could be imagined. How terrifying was the might of a vast array of arrows formed by 100,000 arrows. The sun-opening Divine Lord, who was hiding high up in the sky, couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb when he saw this scene. The strength of this bandit is actually so extraordinary. If I were to face such a powerful attack, I would definitely be severely injured. The only way is to activate a life-saving Tao artifact. Boss Liao, this bandit is too reckless. If he kills Su Fong, how am I going to explain it to the evil god and dissolve the blood-colored rune talisman in my body? It seems that I have no choice but to make a move. The Mizar god monarch was already prepared to make a move to save Su Fong. Tens of thousands of arrows rained down on the Su Fong with a terrifying aura that could destroy everything. It gave people the feeling that the entire world was covered by the rain of arrows. Everything in the world was being torn apart by the arrows. Peek into the mysteries of heaven. Break all laws. Facing such a terrifying rain of arrows, Su Fong had nowhere to hide. His eyes suddenly flashed with an ethereal and mysterious light. At this moment, under his gaze, the heavenly Tao had no secrets. Heaven prying eye, to see the opportunity and find the flaw in the enemy's divine ability. Any divine ability would have a flaw. It was impossible for it to be perfect, including the life-shrinking technique, a supreme divine ability. No matter how powerful the rain of arrows released by Boss Liao was, there would still be a flaw. Su Fong activated the heaven-prying eye of the heaven-prying eye in order to find the weakest point in the endless rain of arrows. At this moment, everything in the world was in Su Fong's heart. The rain of arrows rained down. Break! Su Fong flipped his hand and shot out a flying sword. This was a very ordinary top-grade flying sword and did not have any fierce aura. The Liao brothers and the first highest elder, as well as the sun-opening Divine Lord in the sky, were all involuntarily taken aback. Then they all laughed involuntarily. Was Su Fong scared out his wits? The flying sword pierced through the gaps between the arrows and collided with an arrow. This arrow exploded, immediately causing a chain reaction. One arrow after another shattered with a loud bang. The huge arrow array shattered layer by layer and finally collapsed with a loud bang. The 100,000 arrows condensed from the energy of heaven and earth all turned into flowing light, splashing all over the sky like a dazzling meteor shower. Everyone was dumbfounded. Damn it, how could he be so lucky? A top-grade flying sword was able to break my supreme arrow array? Boss Liao was stunned for a moment, and then a whirlwind appeared under his feet. His body shot out like an arrow, and in an instant he was in front of Su Fong. He raised his hand, and another volley of arrows came flying at him. 4 Seasons Samsara Seal. Su Fong quickly formed a seal, shooting out a Xian Guang vortex, which changed colors of green, red, gold, and black. It swept out with the divine power of the 4 Seasons Samsara and the evolution of time. Under the divine power of the time, Samsara, the momentum of the arrow shot by Boss Liao was shattered. The arrow quickly decayed, and its power was completely gone. You have mastered the remarkable power of the way of time. I have really underestimated you, an ant from a big world. Kill. Boss Liao's body was like a big bow, and his arm was like an arrow. His body bent, and then he punched out. Like an arrow leaving the bow, he brought with him an indestructible momentum and crashed towards Su Fong. You want to fight me in close combat with your divine power? I am least afraid of close combat. Su Fong sneered disdainfully and immediately entered his natal state, the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda Fusion Flesh. The two demon saint-level commanders were taken by the second primordial spirit to rescue the Square Heaven Great World, and the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda Junior Commander and the Big Goblin. Su Fong directly absorbed their power and merged it with his body. How terrifying would his strength be? Boom! Boom! In his natal state, Su Fong began a fight with Boss Liao. The earth-shattering collision shook the sky. The 81 dojos of the Tianming Haotsong sect below were impacted by the aftermath of the collision. Countless buildings collapsed, and countless cultivators were shaken to death. Just as Su Fong and Boss Liao were fighting, second brother Liao's figure flashed, and he planned to help Boss Liao and suppress Su Fong. Suddenly, swoosh! An illusory black Xian Guang shot out from the void. Caught off guard, second brother Liao was hit by the black Xian Guang on the back of his head. An illusory divine power of the primordial spirit impacted his divine aperture, and he felt dizzy. He staggered and almost fell. The black Xian Guang was the black mark rune that the second primordial spirit resided in. After the second primordial spirit settled down in the Square Heaven world, it immediately traveled through the void and hid in the void. Not to mention the Liao brothers. Even the Mizar Divine Lord didn't notice it. Until now, it launched an astonishing primordial spirit attack at second brother Liao. What the hell is this? It can release such an astonishing primordial spirit divine power. Second brother Liao was shocked. He was indeed a deity, and not an ordinary one at that. His strength was even higher than Sang Han's. Although the unexpected attack of the second primordial spirit injured second brother Liao's primordial spirit, it was about to enter his brain. Suddenly, a dozen primordial spirit arrows burst out from his brain and collided with the black mark rune. After a moment of stalemate, second brother Liao's primordial spirit divine power was shattered layer by layer. The second primordial spirit forcefully and overbearingly attacked his divine aperture. Second brother Liao had to start a life and death battle with the second primordial spirit in the spiritual world. On Su Fong's side, Boss Liao was still undefeated, and he was even suppressing Su Fong. It was not because of his strength, but because Su Fong was always on guard against the Mizar Divine Lord and did not activate the most powerful power of the inner world. The three good-for-nothings of the Liao family are quite famous bandits in the universe, but they can't even deal with the cultivators of the macro world. Seeing this scene, the Mizar Divine Lord could not help but be surprised and angry. Immediately, he sent a message to the first Supreme Elder with his primordial spirit. If you don't activate the Tianluo Great Formation now, how long are you going to wait? Activate the Tianluo Great Formation? The first Supreme Elder could not help but tremble. The power of the Tianluo Great Formation was incomparably powerful, but the price to pay was not small. If he activated the formation in his current state, even if he did not die, he would lose half his life. However, how could he dare to disobey the order of the Mizar Divine Lord? The first Supreme Elder flew to the sky and slowly formed a seal, striking out a series of shocking seals. The 80 stars of the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect and the Heavenly Fate Celestial Land burst into a great commotion. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. The world origin flew out from the depths of the earth and turned into a river of stars around the first Supreme Elder. In an instant, the first Supreme Elder was enveloped by a supreme aura of the heavenly Tao, as if he was a supreme ruler who controlled the heavens. Su Fong, even if I have to risk my life, I will suppress you. Prepare to die. The first Supreme Elder's majestic voice was like the voice of the heavenly Tao, and there was infinite madness in it. Rumble. Then, from the 81 dojos and the surrounding worlds, an astonishing amount of world origin power surged towards Su Fong with an overwhelming force. as if the power of the entire macro world had gathered together. Damn it, you want to suppress me as well. Under such terrifying power, everything would be crushed to pieces. Even Boss Liao could not escape the fate of being crushed, and he immediately shouted coldly, "You're the one who deserves to die. It should be you." Half-floating life Su Fong smiled coldly, looking at the first Supreme Elder with eyes full of disdain and ridicule, with an aura of contempt for the heavens. A supreme power that could control the world burst out from Su Fong's body. The river of stars around the first Supreme Elder collapsed and turned into starlight that flew to Su Fong's side. The surging world origin power was also tamed by Su Fong in an instant. Suddenly, the entire world seemed to have changed owners. The control of the Tajura Great Formation fell into the hands of Su Fong. The first Supreme Elder used his hand to control the world origin and activate the Tajura Great Formation. He was not truly controlling it, but borrowing it. And Su Fong was like the master of the world origin. At this time, he forcibly took back control. The first Supreme Elder who borrowed the world origin had to return it even if he did not want to. Puff. Chapter 1811. It wasn't a secret that Su Fong had mastered the ethereal truth, and it wasn't difficult to find out. However, it was impossible for the ethereal truth to integrate and control the Tianming Hao Tsang sect's world origin so easily in such a short time. Not only did it require great strength, but it also required the cultivation of the world's power to a level that even a demigod expert couldn't reach. Grand Supreme Elder could only control the world's origin through a seal, but he couldn't control it directly. Su Fong had integrated the world's origin in just 3 days, and he could control it so easily. It was no wonder that Grand Supreme Elder was so shocked. Not only him, but even the Mizar Divine Lord found it unbelievable. Other than mastering the ethereal 10,000 Laws Tao, the magic power that integrated the world's origin is the magic power of Yin and Yang. What I cultivate isn't the world fragment that ordinary experts cultivate, but the world tree. My power is the power of the world of Yin and Yang fused with the world fragment. Moreover, I have cultivated the world in my body. My ability to control the great world is something that even the Tianming ancestor can't compare to. Su Fong sneered in his heart. He used the world's origin to activate the Tajura formation, forming a shocking shackle that shrouded Boss Liao. Damn it! These idiots from the Tianming Hao Tsang sect, they actually allowed Su Fong to control the world's origin, and he used the Tajura formation to deal with me. Damn it, damn it! Boss Liao was shocked and angry. He used all his strength and even activated the divine bow. Although he was powerful and had a divine weapon, he was fighting against a great world of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect. Moreover, the Tajura formation contained the will of the great world's heavenly way and the power of the heavenly way. In addition, there was a strong enemy like Su Fong. Even if Boss Liao's strength was heaven-defying, how could he escape the fate of being suppressed? If you don't want to die, give up resisting and accept my shackles. Su Fong said majestically. His cold voice was like the voice of the heavenly way. You want me to submit to a low-level existence like you from a great world? Boss Liao was a bandit from the God realm. He wasn't even willing to submit to the Mizar Divine Lord. So how could he submit to a great world cultivator like Su Fong? He scoffed at Su Fong's words. That would be great. Su Fong was about to head to World's End and enter the celestial plane. Seeing that the 3 deities who cultivated the Tao of archery possessed extraordinary strength, he had wanted to take them in as his slaves. It didn't matter if he couldn't subdue them. The corpse of a true god was the best material for cultivation. 3 true gods were enough to help Su Fong reach the true god realm. Boom! Boom! Su Fong controlled the power of the world and slammed it towards Boss Liao. It was as if the entire world's natural energy was pressing down on Boss Liao's body. No matter how strong this God World's bandit was, he was still violently coughing out blood from the pressure, and his body was shattered. This time, Boss Liao was finally scared. Surrender, surrender. Lousy? Su Fong snorted. The surrounding power of the world suddenly became several times more violent. Boss Liao coughed out a mouthful of blood that contained his internal organs. He quickly said, "No, no, no, it's this little one. This little one is willing to surrender." Boss Liao opened up his divine aperture and body, allowing Su Fong to insert the seal seeds into his primordial spirit and dantian. These seal seeds were created by Su Fong using the power of his inner world. Unless Su Fong's inner world collapsed, Boss Liao would not be able to break the seal. Next, Su Fong shackled Boss Liao into his inner world and kept him as a companion for Liao Lao-san. Seeing Boss Liao and Liao Lao-san being shackled by Su Fong, Liao Lao-san, who was engaged in a life-and-death battle with Su Fong's second primordial spirit, suddenly panicked and lost all will to fight. Under the suppression of Su Fong's second primordial spirit, he was forced to retreat. In the end, he gave up resisting and allowed Su Fong's second primordial spirit to shackle him. Just like that, the three bandits sent by the Mizar Divine Monarch to kill Su Fong were all suppressed by Su Fong. Su Fong looked at the first Supreme Elder and laughed loudly. Many thanks to Heaven's mandate, how Song Sek's great encirclement array. Puff, blood spurted out of First Supreme Elder's heart again. His vision turned black, and he fell down. Su Fong controlled the power of the world and shackled him. Seeing that First Supreme Elder's aura was weak and he was about to die at any time, Su Fong took out a peak-grade Yin-Yang Immortal Sky pellet and put it into his mouth, urging Yang Force to help him refine the medicinal efficacy. Su Fong was so kind that he naturally didn't want First Supreme Elder to die too easily. "Su Fong, you dare to destroy the orthodoxy of my seal Heaven Divine path in the outside world. How can I allow you to be arrogant?" An angry roar came from the sky. Mizar Divine Monarch finally couldn't sit still and wanted to personally take action. Finally can't hold it anymore? Su Fong's expression became dignified, and he quickly recalled Su Fong's second primordial spirit. However, from the beginning to the end, Su Fong didn't display his strongest strength because he wanted to guard against Mizar Divine Monarch. What made Su Fong feel strange was why Mizar Divine Monarch had been hiding his strength all this time and didn't personally take action until now. Su Fong was fearless. At this time, he had fused with the world origin of the heavenly mandate Hao Song sect, coupled with the world in his body. Even if he didn't use the powerful power of the origin sacred mirror, he still had the ability to fight Mizar Divine Monarch. Chi. Mizar Divine Monarch controlled a flying sword and descended from the sky. His flying sword was naturally a divine artifact, and a very extraordinary one at that. The power of the four elements of earth, water, fire, and wind circled around the flying sword. It had a terrifying momentum of the great Tao. It set off a whistling sword chi in the void for thousands of miles. Space-time and energy storms raged around him like a meteor falling from the sky and swooping down towards Su Fong. Su Fong's expression became more dignified. How could Mizar Divine Monarch's strength compare to mystery? He was even stronger than Marquis V. How could he deal with mystery? Marquis V. Su Fong could use the origin sacred mirror to release the Nine Yang true fire and the sun god's power of the dragon bird. Against Mizar Divine Monarch, these advantages were useless. Boom, boom, boom. Su Fong used the Tajura Great Array and clashed with Mizar Divine Monarch. The heavens and earth shook and the galaxies tumbled. The 81 dojos of the Tianming Hao Song sect collided violently. Stars shattered and buildings collapsed. Chi, chi, chi. It turned out that Liao Lauer, under the threat of his second primordial spirit, released sharp arrows and attacked Mizar Divine Monarch from afar, causing great trouble for Mizar Divine Monarch. "Liao Lauer, you're courting death." Mizar Divine Monarch was shocked and angry. He had left a shackle in Liao Lauer's body. Just as he was about to activate it, Su Fong rushed out of the Tajura Great Array. This time, he used the power of the world in his body and shattered Mizar Divine Monarch's sword chi of the four elements with a punch, causing Mizar Divine Monarch to retreat. How could he have the chance to activate the restriction in Liao Lauer's body? In this way, Su Fong borrowed the world origin of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect, the power of the Tajura Great Array, and the powerful power of his own world. With Liao Laoer's interference from afar, although he could not defeat Mizar Divine Monarch, the latter could not do anything to Su Fong. Damned Su Fong, damned Liao Laoer. Mizar Divine Monarch could not help but become anxious. His divine power was consumed bit by bit and was almost impossible to replenish. Su Fong, on the other hand, controlled the world origin of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect and could draw upon the power of the world in an almost endless stream. Coupled with Su Fong's strange and powerful power of yin and yang, if the stalemate continued, not only would he not be able to suppress Su Fong, but he would also have to consider running away. Moreover, Mizar Divine Monarch still had worries in his heart and did not dare to use his full strength. If he really killed Su Fong with his own hands, he would also not be able to escape the suppression of the supreme divine race that controlled the heavenly Tao of a large world. Even Seal Heaven Divine Sect would not be able to escape the fate of destruction. Suddenly, the sky darkened in an instant, and monstrous demon Qi covered the sky. The space fluctuated violently like the surface of the sea, and a monster that looked like a big fish slid out of nothingness. This monster was jet black and incomparably huge. It could cross the galaxy and gave off a boundless feeling, as if the void was a sea that it could roam freely. Kuan, it's the ancient divine beast Kuan. Mizar Divine Monarch revealed a look of shock. The aura of this divine beast. Su Fong's eyebrows furrowed, and a look of incredulity appeared in his eyes. Who, the giant Kuan swam out of nothingness and swooped down. Its figure rapidly changed and turned into a huge azure punk. Its claws and wings were golden, and it carried with it a monstrous demon Qi. It had a domineering aura that allowed it to roam freely in the vast world. Senior Azure Feather. It's Senior Azure Feather. How did he become like this? Su Fong was extremely shocked. Swoosh! The azure pung arrived in a flash, and its speed was several times faster than Liao Laoer's arrow. It was as if the shackles of the world not only did not cause any obstacles or restraints to him, but instead helped him. Space and distance had no meaning to him. Boom! The Mizar Divine Monarch was sent flying hundreds of thousands of miles away by the azure punk. His chest had been scratched by sharp claws, and his internal organs could be seen. The Mizar Divine Monarch formed a hand seal and wiped it across his chest. His injuries instantly healed, but his aura had withered a little. So it's a big goblin of the Pung clan. The big goblin of the Pung clan of a large world is not rare, but a big goblin of the Pung clan that can transform into both a Kuan and a Pung at the same time is unique. Only the ancient true Kuan Pung has such a remarkable ability. However, it has just awakened this remarkable ability, so I don't need to care about it. The Mizar Divine Monarch smiled disdainfully. Swoosh! As soon as the Mizar Divine Monarch's voice fell, the giant azure pung spewed out a black flying sword, releasing a black xianguang, which shot towards the Mizar Divine Monarch in a flash. Greatly shocked, the Mizar Divine Monarch teleported away, but he was one step too late. The black xianguang cut off a piece of flesh from his right arm. Oh, the black xianguang turned into a black feather with a golden divine pattern, drifted in the air, and fell into the black flying sword. Whoosh! The second primordial spirit shot out from Liao Laoer's divine aperture. Su Fong also urged the power of the world in his body, shuttled through the void, and attacked the Mizar Divine Monarch, and then released Guiye. Su Fong, I'll let you be arrogant for a while. You will ascend to the God Realm soon. When you reach the God Realm, you will be hunted down by the sealing Heaven Divine Path. The Mizar Divine Monarch also realized at this time that if he stayed here today, he might be suppressed by Su Fong. It was almost impossible to kill Su Fong in the large world. He could only return to the God Realm and try to kill Su Fong as soon as he entered the God Realm. Chapter 1812. Su Fong, I'll be waiting for you in the God Realm. And you, Demon Rock, I'll skin you alive for injuring me today. The Mizar divine Lord glanced coldly at Su Fong and the green-feathered demon emperor, and then soared into the sky. At this time, Law spoke in Su Fong's body. Su Fong, if you let this person return to the myriad realms, there will be countless troubles in the future. Let me use your physical body to kill him. At most, I'll lose some of my primordial spirit power. No. Su Fong flatly rejected Law's proposal. Law had injured his primordial spirit origin in the demon ancient world. If he forcibly used the primordial spirit power at this time, it would be like adding fuel to the fire. This was something that Su Fong absolutely did not want to see. Since I became a cultivator, I've stepped on the bodies of countless powerful enemies to reach my current height. The Mizar Divine Lord and the Sealing Heaven Divine Path are just whetstones for me after I enter the myriad realms. What's there to worry about? Su Fong revealed a lofty and domineering aura. Law no longer spoke, but he sighed in his heart. The lower domain cultivator who had just ascended to the myriad realms has now transformed into an expert in terms of strength, Tao heart, and will. He doesn't have to rely on me for everything. How arrogant! The green-feathered demon emperor, who had transformed into a giant golden-winged green rock, flashed a fierce demonic light in his eyes and was about to chase after the Mizar divine lord. Senior, let him go. Su Fong stopped the green-feathered demon emperor. Only then did the green-feathered demon emperor give up and transformed into a green-robed man that Su Fong was familiar with. The Mizar divine lord's figure instantly flew into the horizon and disappeared without a trace. With his strength, if he wanted to leave, no one in the myriad realms could stop him. Su Fong activated his fulfillment ability to sense the green-feathered demon emperor. He found that the strength of the green-feathered demon emperor had surpassed the demon emperor and reached the level of demon saint. Compared to the two demon saints from the demon realm that Su Fong had seen, he was much more terrifying. Su Fong was also shocked when he thought of the scene when he transformed into the giant Koan and used the divine wing sword to injure a god like the rising sun god lord. It seemed that the inheritance of the Kuan Peng clan that he obtained from the monster clan in the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons was no small matter. Senior, congratulations on ascending to Demon Saint. Su Fong was genuinely happy for Demon Emperor Greenfeather. No, Demon Saint Greenfeather now. Demon Sage Greenfeather said smugly, I didn't get anything this time. I obtained a drop of blood essence left behind by the ancient Kuan Peng demon god. I also obtained the innate divine power, Kuan transformation. I even fused with the divine wing sword. As for my strength, I'm probably only slightly weaker than you. Mystical Kuan transformation, Luo Chu exclaimed in surprise. He then exclaimed in admiration, this innate ability is truly extraordinary. Although the Kuan and Rock were both descendants of the ancient divine beast, the Kuan Peng, they had already diverged into two different monster clans after generations of mutation. The Kuan could transform into a giant Peng and roam the world. It could soar above the 9 heavens and devour the 9 heavens' clear air. However, the Rock didn't have the ability to transform into a giant Kuan. It ate dragons as food. The two innate abilities were different. Demon Sage Greenfeather obtained a drop of the Kuan Peng demon god's blood essence and gained the ability to transform into a Kuan. It was equivalent to completely changing his bloodline and talent. With the innate talent of the ancient Kuan Peng, his lifespan would also be extended to 1 billion years. His future growth would definitely not be limited to the Great World. After transforming into a giant Kuan, Demon Sage Greenfeather also gained the innate ability to roam the world without the shackles of the world. It was no wonder he could rush from the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons to the heavenly fate Haotsong sect in just a few days. I wonder how Sister Bai is now. Su Fong was vaguely worried for Bai Ling. At that moment, the heavenly fate Haotsong sect had already fallen into a panic. The world origin was controlled by Su Fong, and the Grand Elder was suppressed. Even the gods of the Seal Heaven Divine Path had fled. The heavenly fate Haotsong sect had collapsed. When the tree fell, the monkeys scattered. How could the cultivators of the heavenly fate Haotsong sect not panic? It was as if the sky had collapsed. Cultivators of the heavenly fate Haotsong sect, stay in the cave abode. Kill anyone who dares to act rashly. Su Fang's voice was filled with killing intent. It was transmitted to every corner of the 81 training halls with the help of the world divine might. Only then did the entire heavenly fate Haotsong sect quiet down. Next, Su Fang used the power of the world to completely seal the protective barrier around the heavenly fate Haotsong sect to prevent the cultivators from falling into chaos. Each of the 81 training halls of the heavenly fate Haotsong sect was a planet. One could imagine the number of cultivators there. Once chaos broke out, no matter how powerful Su Fang was, it would be difficult for him to clean up such a huge mess. After all, the heavenly fate Haotsong sect was the strongest faction of the immortal Tao. If the heavenly fate Haotsong sect fell into chaos, the entire immortal Tao world would fall into chaos too. It would also give them a chance to resurrect the experts, demons, and beasts. As for what to do with the heavenly fate Haotsong sect, Su Fang had already made his decision. He returned to the square Heaven Great World. All hail the Master! In the square Heaven Great World, there was a roar like a tsunami. Countless cultivators, great demons, and some devil Tao cultivators prostrated themselves on the ground and worshipped Su Fang as a god. Su Fang settled down in the square Heaven Great World. At the same time, he distributed a large amount of resources to his injured subordinates. He also used his wood element and yang qi to help the Tianhu spiritual tree recover. Many of his subordinates had been killed by the heavenly fate Haotsong sect. Even the barbaric god, Demon Highness, had almost died. His vitality was greatly damaged. Without 100,000 years to recover, he would not be able to return to his peak condition. Some of his familiar subordinates had also been killed by the heavenly fate Haotsong sect. Tung Ba, Mao Chong, and the withered immortal were among them. Even if Su Fang was unbelievably strong, he would not be able to resurrect them. First Supreme Elder. Su Fang's heart was burning with killing intent. He released the first Supreme Elder from the world in his body. After receiving Su Fang's Yang Qi and consuming a king-grade Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Elixir, the first Supreme Elder who had been on the verge of death recovered some of his energy. First Supreme Elder, did you think that this day would come? Su Fang said coldly. The first Supreme Elder sighed. I did not expect it. I really did not expect that a disciple of mine in the past, a lowly existence that I could kill with one finger, would actually defy the heavens and destroy the heavenly fate Haotsong sect. I regret it. Su Fang sneered. It's too late to regret now. The first Supreme Elder gritted his teeth and said, I regret that I was not ruthless enough and underestimated you. If I knew this would happen, I would have killed you before you grew. Otherwise, why would there be such a calamity? If not for the upper echelons of the sect suppressing me wantonly, and even using my family, friends, and subordinates to threaten me, the heavenly fate Haotsong sect would not be where it is today. Although I was the one who destroyed the heavenly fate Haotsong sect, the real culprit should be you, old thief. Even now, you still did not repent? Su Fang said coldly. The winner takes all. You are the winner. You can say whatever you want. If I fall into your hands, the worst that can happen is death. What can you do? The first Supreme Elder sneered disdainfully. You sent evil Punisher Tao Master to capture my family and threaten me with the square Heaven Great World. Moreover, you used cruel means to kill my subordinates. If I kill you like this, wouldn't I be letting you off too easily? I want you to live well. You can't die even if you want to. Su Fang revealed a smile, but his eyes exuded traces of coldness. Su Fang, you plan to humiliate me. The first Supreme Elder trembled and shouted coldly. Humiliate? You think too highly of yourself. Why would I humiliate a dog? Su Fang smiled coldly. His eyes were ferocious and filled with killing intent. On the path of cultivation, Su Fang had experienced countless dangers and was used to seeing ruthless people. His Tao heart had also been honed to be incomparably cold. He never showed mercy to his enemies. However, Su Fang dealt with his enemies. If he could subdue them, he would do so. If he could not, he would just kill them. However, it was different this time. The first Supreme Elder had repeatedly targeted Su Fang's family, friends, and subordinates. He had touched Su Fang's reverse scale. Every dragon had a reverse scale. Touching it would infuriate them. How could Su Fang let him die peacefully? Then, Su Fang released the Vermilion Emperor. Senior Green Feather, I'll leave him to you. Whoosh! Demon Sage Green Feather appeared in front of Su Fang. He opened his mouth and spat out a stream of demonic aura. It condensed into a demonic aura chain that firmly shackled the first Supreme Elder. Then, Demon Sage Green Feather grabbed the chain with one hand and slowly flew out with the first Supreme Elder as if he was flying a kite. Demon Sage Green Feather dragged the first Supreme Elder and flew around the Heaven's Mandate, Hao Tsang sect. From time to time, he would release a stream of demonic aura that exploded in the first Supreme Elder's body and drilled into his organs. Under the intense pain, the first Supreme Elder screamed uncontrollably. Seeing this scene, the cultivators of the Heaven's Mandate, Hao Tsang sect, trembled in fear. Seeing that the first Supreme Elder's aura had weakened, Demon Sage Green Feather took out a pill and fed it to him to recover his vitality. After the first Supreme Elder recovered slightly, Demon Sage Green Feather dragged him out of the Heaven's Mandate, Hao Tsang sect. He flew past various immortal worlds and deliberately circled the first Supreme Elder in the royal city of each immortal world. He tortured the first Supreme Elder and made him scream incessantly. Just like that, Demon Sage Green Feather flew past various immortal realms and visited almost every immortal world. Countless experts in the immortal Dao Great World were shocked. Su Fang planned to unite the Square Heaven Great World, the True Dragon World, and the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect to form a new huge force. The name of this force was the Heaven's Crossing sect. Su Fang still planned to subdue all the cultivators of the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect. The Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect had a deep foundation. Although almost all of the sect's powerhouses had been killed by Su Fang, their foundation was still extremely solid. If they could subdue the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect, Su Fang's overall strength would skyrocket. No other force in the Great World would be able to compare to them. At that time, Su Fang would not only be the #1 expert in the Great World, but also the absolute overlord of the Great World. Su Fang did not want to use forceful means to suppress the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect cultivators. Blindly suppressing and shackling them would not make them submit. Therefore, Su Fang sent Dao Hengtian. With him, the former Taoist of the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect, subduing the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect cultivators would be much smoother. It's time to deal with the 3 Liao brothers. Chapter 1813. Inner World. Ba Ba read book 230. Su Fang looked down at the shackled Liao brothers and said majestically, "Tell me your names and why you listened to Kai Yang Divine Lord's decree. There's no harm in telling you. We brothers were originally bandits from the dust origin realm of the myriad worlds. We were known as the 3 Fierce Liao. We roamed the dust origin realm, killing and plundering. Unfortunately, we killed a core disciple of the Seal Heaven Divine Path and ended up being shackled by him. We killed you on behalf of Kai Yang Divine Lord. Naturally, we used your life to exchange for our freedom." Boss Liao was still extremely arrogant and did not take Su Fang seriously at all. "So it's the 3 bandits of the God Realm." Su Fang nodded and asked, "Why didn't Kai Yang personally attack at the beginning, but only at the last moment, as if he was afraid?" "How would I know this?" Boss Liao shook his head and said arrogantly, "Kid, now that we brothers have fallen into your hands, we have no choice but to admit defeat. We will give you some benefits in exchange for letting us brothers go. We will owe you a favor." Su Fang's young immortal was stunned and said domineeringly, "Give me some benefits? After killing the 3 of you, your benefits will naturally belong to me. I don't want your benefits, as long as you submit to me and work for me from now on." "Submit to you? You actually want us 3 gods to submit to a low-level existence like you?" The 3 Liao brothers were startled at first, then laughed wildly at the same time. "We 3 brothers are free. How happy are we? Why will we submit to them? We didn't even submit to Kai Yang Divine Lord, a Seal Heaven Divine Path powerhouse, let alone you. Either you get the benefits and let us go, or give us a quick death and simply kill us. Boss Liao said decisively. Wouldn't it be a pity if I simply killed you? Su Fong smiled indifferently. A blood clone came into his inner world and fused with the Yang immortal. Next, with a thought from Su Fong, a palm-sized piece of flesh was sent to his clone by the godly might of his inner world. This piece of flesh was cut off of the Mizar Divine Lord's body by demon Saint Green Feather using the Divine Wing Sword. It contained an astonishing amount of blood chi. Even though it was shackled by the power of the yin-yang world, it was still struggling like a living creature. Su Fong grabbed the piece of flesh with his right hand. Suddenly, his entire palm collapsed. His flesh and bones turned into blood, which wrapped around the piece of flesh and corroded it with a sizzling sound. At the same time, Su Fong activated the heavenly secret life-shortening technique, wiping out the consciousness of the Mizar Divine Lord that was contained in the flesh and blood. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, this piece of flesh quickly turned into a pool of blood, burning with astonishing flames of life. Then, Su Fong activated the power of his world and compressed this piece of flesh into a solid crystal, like a piece of blood jade. The life force contained in this blood crystal was more than 100 times purer than the crystal that Su Fong condensed from the blood chi of the ancient gluttonous demon in the Devil Birth Abyss. Moreover, it contained the life force and powerful divine power of an expert in the God realm. No matter how many experts in the great world were added together, they would not be able to reach such a level. Su Fong put away the blood crystal and stored it as a cultivation resource for breaking through to the true God realm. If he was injured in the future, this blood crystal would be a supreme treasure for rapid recovery. If you want to die, it won't be that easy. All the treasures on you will belong to me, including your life force and divine power will become my cultivation tool. You will end up like this piece of flesh of the Mizar Divine Lord, refined into a blood crystal by me. Su Fong said coldly. The three brothers of the Liao family turned pale, and their eyes revealed a look of horror. Su Fong sneered secretly. These three bandits, who were self-conceited as true gods of the heavens, naturally had a superior mentality and looked down on the cultivators of the great world. Moreover, they were ruthless bandits. Only by being more ruthless and cruel than them could they be afraid. It seems that it's not enough. Law, come here. Su Fong transmitted his thought to Law and then moved Law from the cave abode in his body into his inner world. Seeing Law in blood-red clothes, the three brothers of the Liao family were shocked. The eldest brother of the Liao family said in a trembling voice, Azura, you're an expert of the Azura divine clan, and not an ordinary Azura, but the king of the Azura divine clan. Su Fong added. Then, Su Fong asked Law, the blood of these three true gods should be of some help to your primordial spirit, right? Law looked at the three of them with contempt and said disdainfully, they're just 3 ants. Their blood is of some use to me, but not much. It's better to keep it first. When you meet a strong enemy in the future, I can use the Azura divine ability to fuse with their bodies. This way, I can also burst out with more power. The three brothers of the Liao family instantly changed. Law looked at the three of them and sneered disdainfully. You 3 idiots, a great fortune that is hard to come by in your lifetime is in front of you, and you still put on the airs of a true god. How ridiculous! Great fortune? The three brothers of the Liao family were surprised. Law pointed at Su Fong. Su Fong ascended from a small world to a great world, from a lowly cultivator to a true god. He is about to advance to the true god realm. At this time, he can even kill true gods. The whole process took him less than 10,000 years. For such a peerless figure to recognize him as master, if it's not your fortune, what is it? The 3 beasts of the Liao family showed an incredulous look. They refused to believe Law's words. Law then said, it's fine if you don't believe it. Look around you, this is not a treasure world, but Su Fong's inner world. Seeing that the three of them were confused, Law sneered, "You three ants, you still don't know what an inner world is, right? An inner world, that is a real universe cultivated in the body, also known as a small world. In the myriad worlds, not to mention ordinary true gods, even those realm lords of the divine realm cannot cultivate a small world. Only those peerless giants and true gods can have a small world. Now do you understand what kind of achievements Su Fong will reach in the future? You three idiots, to be able to become his slave masters, you will also become a true god in the future. With such a great fortune in front of you, you don't want it. Stupid, too stupid." Law's words were like thunder, shaking the heads of the three brothers of the Liao family. However, it was obviously impossible for them to submit just like that. Law said coldly to Su Fong, "Why did you take such idiots as your subordinates? You might as well just devour them and break through to the true God realm in one fell swoop. At that time, it will be easy to crush the rising sun god lord. Why would you need such useless subordinates? You might as well refine them into corpse puppets. They will be of some use." That's right. Su Fong deeply agreed with Law's words. With a whoosh, the Bloodwater clone turned into the underworld Blood Sea state and swept toward the three brothers of the Liao family. "Boss, I don't want to die. Submit, quickly submit. Submit, we submit, master, we submit." The three brothers of the Liao family hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. The rolling Bloodwater recondensed into Su Fong's body, condensing the power of yin and yang, turning into two seal seeds and entering the bodies of Liao Lauer and Liao Laosan. As for Liao Lauer, Su Fong had already left a seal seed in his body when he was suppressed. Chi Chi Chi. Su Fong activated the life shrinking technique and easily erased the primordial spirit seal that the rising sun god Lord left in the heads of the three brothers. As for the seals in the bodies of the three brothers, it was difficult for Su Fong to remove them with his current strength. Therefore, he activated the Chaos Divine Mirror and used his consciousness to control it into the bodies of the three brothers. In a moment, the rising sun god Lord's seal was burned clean. This time, the three brothers of the Liao family were shocked. Not only did they look at Su Fong in a new light, but there was also a hint of reverence in their eyes. Then, Su Fong gave each of them 100 king-grade yin-yang immortal sky pills to heal their injuries. Old monster Zhu Tian and the alchemy master of the heavenly fate Hao Tsang sect refined the king-grade yin-yang immortal sky pill much faster. Moreover, Su Fong did not lack high-quality alchemy materials. The quality of the yin-yang immortal sky pill was higher than before, infinitely close to the level of a divine pill. At this time, Su Fong was very rich, so he could take it out and reward it to his subordinates. The king-grade yin-yang immortal sky pill not only had an astonishing effect on the cultivators of the large world, the medicinal power of the flesh and the power of yin and yang were also of great help to the gods. Su Fong still had 10 middle-grade divine essence pills. Even in the divine realm, pills of this quality were very precious. Naturally, Su Fong could not bear to take them out. When they received the king-grade yin-yang immortal sky pill, the three brothers of the Liao family were a little disdainful at first, but they did not dare to say it out loud. This was also very normal. How could the gods of the various heavens and realms care about the pills of the large world? However, when they tried to consume one, they felt the strange medicinal power and magical effects of the pill. The three brothers of the Liao family were shocked. Then, they felt that following such a master was not necessarily a bad thing. Just like this, Su Fong had 3 more gods under his command. Moreover, they were experts in the Tao of archery. With these 3 experts, they would at least have the ability to protect themselves after ascending to the divine realm. However, Su Fong still had to put in a lot of effort in the future to make these 3 unruly thieves submit to him wholeheartedly. Next, it's time to deal with the Heaven's Mandate, Hao Tsang sect. Subduing the 3 brothers of the Liao family was to prepare for ascending to the divine realm. As for subduing the Heaven's Mandate, Hao Tsang sect, Su Fong wanted to deal with the aftermath after leaving the large world. When going to the divine realm, everything would have to start from scratch. Su Fong could not bring his father, clansmen, and other friends and subordinates. Therefore, he had to ensure that he had an absolute overlord force in the large world. Su Fong did not lack experts under his command. He even had a few demigod experts. What he lacked was a strong foundation for an overlord force. Su Fong wanted to establish his own supreme force on the foundation of the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect. Su Fong asked Dao Hengtian to come forward. He originally thought that it would be easy to make the cultivators of the Heaven's Mandate Hao Tsang sect submit. Chapter 1814. Human Emperor World. Su Fong's main body was accompanying his father, Su Yaotian, to talk, enjoying a rare moment of familial affection. Zhang Ren, Lan Haicheng, Xiao Mei'er, Li Zuqing, Su Jinhua, and other cultivators from small worlds, as well as Su Fong's in-name disciple, Zhu Yin, and Madame Zhu were also at the side. Ever since Su Fong brought the 5 small worlds to the Great World, the cultivators in the small worlds had already advanced to Immortal Realm. Su Yaotian was already a 9th profound Immortal Realm cultivator, and the other's improvement speed was also extremely shocking. The various cultivation techniques, secret manuals, pills, spiritual items, and other resources provided by Su Fong were the best in the Great World. It was very difficult for the cultivators of these small worlds to not improve quickly. The only regret was Xiao Mei'er. His second primordial spirit had yet to completely possess the Lord of the Dark Realm, so he had yet to find a way to cure Xiao Mei'er. Su Fong could only wait patiently. There was another matter that gave Su Fong a headache, and that was Zhang Ruiyan. Her feelings for Su Fong were already undisguised, and she was deeply liked by him. However, Su Fong's heart could no longer hold any other woman, so he could only let her down. Brother Su, Dao Hengtian floated over with a tired and ashamed look on his face. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. What's wrong? Things didn't go well? The heavenly fate Hao Tsang sect's Supreme Grand Elder was currently being brought by Demon Saint Greenfeather to tour the immortal Dao world. The sect master was killed by Su Fong, and the other Supreme Elders and Dao Sovereigns were almost all killed by Su Fong. The destruction of the heavenly fate Hao Tsang sect was a foregone conclusion. Other than submitting to Su Fong, there was no other choice. Letting Dao Hengtian go to the heavenly fate Hao Tsang sect was only because Su Fong did not want to cause any trouble, nor did he want to use forceful means to suppress them. Logically speaking, Dao Hengtian should be able to go smoothly. Dao Hengtian let out a sigh and explained slowly. The heavenly fate Hao Tsang sect was known as the leader of the immortal Dao, and the cultivators in the sect were all arrogant and domineering. Moreover, Su Fong had killed the cultivators of the heavenly fate Hao Tsang sect too ruthlessly. Even the Supreme Grand Elder was tortured and humiliated by Su Fong. So many cultivators were naturally filled with hatred towards Su Fong. Hao Tsang sect's lost. Fong's Hao Tsang sect's lost was the heavens. And Hao Tsang. As a result, the entire heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect hardened their hearts. They could submit to Su Fong, but they had to agree to his conditions. Hao Tsang sect Fong sect Fong, Hao Tsang sect. Su Fong was shocked after hearing Dao Hengtian's words. He sneered after a brief pause. Aren't these cultivators afraid of death? Dao Hengtian sighed. Brother Su, have you never heard of the saying, the law cannot punish the masses? The law cannot be enforced when there are too many of them. Su Fong smiled faintly as his eyes turned cold. Dao Hengtian said, Holy Man Han, Su has brought the sect masters of a dozen sects with him. They came with me to discuss with you in person. Su Fong, do you want to meet them? Su Fong nodded. All right, let them come. Dao Hengtian immediately transmitted his immortal spirit. After half an hour, the sect masters of the heavenly fate Hao Tsang sect, led by Holy Man Han Su, arrived at the great hall of the mortal emperor world. There were varying expressions on their faces. Some had their chests puffed out, looking as though they would rather die than submit. Some had faces filled with hatred. Some glanced at Su Yaotian and the other cultivators before revealing looks of disdain. Clearly, they were looking down on Su Fong and the other cultivators. Before Su Fong could speak, Holy Man Han Su and the other sect masters took their seats. Smack! A red-haired elder slammed the armrest of his chair and shouted at Su Fong. Su Fong, you killed countless cultivators of the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect and humiliated the first Supreme Elder. Now you want us to submit to you? The Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect only has cultivators who die standing, not cowards who live kneeling. Su Fong touched the tip of his nose, and his eyes were frozen. Another sect master stood up. The Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect has 81 sections. From the sect masters to the lowest level cultivators, there are a total of 148 million cultivators. Including these cultivators' families and servants, there are over 2 billion people. Even if killing is your second nature, why don't you kill everyone? Then, another cultivator pointed at Dao Hengtian and shouted, the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect has nurtured you for so long and even made you a Taoist. Yet you are so ungrateful and side with the enemy. Not only will I expel you from the sect, I will also expel you from the sect. This cultivator was the only remaining high-level Dao realm cultivator in the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect. He was the first Supreme Elder and also Dao Hengtian's master. Dao Hengtian knelt on the ground and said nothing. Su Fong said indifferently, everyone, don't forget your identities. You are now my, Su Fong's, prisoners and not some high and mighty upper echelon of a sect. You just want to keep your power and status and bargain with me. Holy Man Han Su, you have the highest prestige in the sect. What are your conditions? Tell me. You are indeed a smart person. Then I shall not beat around the bush. Holy Man Han Su stood up and said, if you want the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect to submit to you, it's not impossible. You just have to agree to 3 of our conditions. Then, Holy Man Han Su raised 3 fingers and began to explain. First, the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect must be preserved. Dao Hengtian can be the sect leader and an elder council can be established. You will be the first Supreme Elder of the sect, and the sect will respect you. However, unless it is a matter of life and death, you are not allowed to interfere in the sect's affairs. Second, the status and cultivation resources of the sect's cultivators will remain unchanged. Third, immediately release the first Supreme Elder. A secret realm can be set aside for him to live out his remaining years. After Holy Man Han Su finished speaking, Su Jinhua shouted coldly, a sect that has already been destroyed still dares to be so arrogant in front of my master? The Red Elder looked at Su Jinhua and said disdainfully, a puny Shin immortal has the right to shout in front of Holy Man Han Su? Su Jinhua retorted, you are just my master's prisoners. My master only needs to give the order and your heads will fall to the ground. At this time, Su Fong said indifferently, Holy Man Han Su, these are your 3 conditions? Holy Man Han Su was startled and nodded. That's right. That's not much. Return to the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect for the time being. Su Fong waved his hand. Holy Man Han Su said in surprise, do you agree to our 3 conditions? Half a year later, when the first Supreme Elder returns, I will go to the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect and give you an answer in person. Su Fong's reaction surprised the higher-ups of the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect. They put forward such harsh conditions to let Su Fong know that they were not pigs and sheep that Su Fong could slaughter. Then, they would be able to bargain and retain their power. Unexpectedly, Su Fong did not suppress them as they expected, nor did he make any concessions. He was neither soft nor hard. This made the higher-ups of the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect feel that they had punched empty air. Holy Man Han Su led the crowd out of the main hall. His smug and arrogant voice came from outside. I don't believe that he really dares to kill all the cultivators of the Heavenly Fate Haotsong sect. The law does not punish the majority. As long as we stick together, no matter how strong he is, what can he do to us? In the end, he will still have to obediently agree to our conditions. At most, we will make some concessions and let him look better. In the great world, what's the use of just being strong? Without a foundation, it still won't work. These cultivators clearly said these words on purpose. First, It was to demonstrate to Su Fang. Second, it was to reveal that they could continue to negotiate. Dao Hongtian sighed. Brother Su, if it really doesn't work, we should make some concessions. The heavenly fate Haotsong's sex foundation is too strong. We can only think of ways to slowly weaken their power. Su Yaotian nodded. Dao Hongtian is right. To become an overlord, one must know how to play politics. It is difficult to maintain a strong force by blindly suppressing them. Li Ziqing shook his head. If we retreat, it will be a big blow to Su Fang's prestige. I don't believe that we can't subdue them with thunder. Su Jinhua snorted coldly. Those who refuse to submit kill. The heavenly fate Haotsong sect killed so many people in the square heaven great world and almost destroyed it. Killing them all is not enough. Su Yaotian shouted, killing 10,000 or 10 million people is fine, but can we kill everyone? What's the difference between that and the demons and resurrected experts? Killing too much will not only damage one's Dao heart, it will also damage Su Fang's luck. Su Jinhua did not dare to make a sound. Li Ziqing asked, Su Fang, what's your decision? Su Fang said slowly, I gave them a chance, but they didn't cherish it. In that case, they can't blame me. I, Su Fang, am not some emperor. I don't need to play politics. I am a cultivator. I only know how to advance fiercely, not how to retreat. Su Yaotian warned, Su Fang, don't lose the big picture for the small. Father, don't worry. I can destroy the heavenly fate Haotsong sect single-handedly. Can I deal with these remnants? Su Fang exuded great confidence, and a domineering aura of having the situation under control spontaneously arose. Seeing Su Fang's expression, Zhang Riyun and Lan Haiqing looked at him with infatuation. Madame Zhu said in her heart, a man should be like this, lying on a beauty's lap drunk, holding a killing sword when awake. Half a year later, /swoosh. Swoosh. Su Fang appeared in the sky above the heavenly fate Haotsong sect with many subordinates. Monster Saint Greenfeather had also returned from the other immortal domains. The first Supreme Elder was still chained by the chains condensed from Monster Chi. He looked to be on the verge of death, but he was still some distance away from death. The first Supreme Elder looked at Su Fang and sneered. You can humiliate and torture me, but you can forget about making the heavenly fate Haotsong sect submit to you. Although his voice was weak, it was still arrogant. Su Fang smiled indifferently. Didn't you want me to give you an answer? Today, Su Fang will give you an answer.